All right, and we are live. Welcome to episode 13 of the Gaming Perspective podcast. Tom Nook is good. We have a lot to talk about today. We have Final Fantasy Remake sales. We've got Red Dead Redemption 2 coming to Xbox Game Pass. We got March 2020 MPD results. We got WWE 22 or 2K21 is canned after what I thought was an amazing launch of the previous title. Silent Hill rumors continue and continue and continue, and much, much more. So, we also have a special guest tonight, so we will get straight to introductions. We'll introduce the regular panel first. And introducing from Android Central, Windows Central, and iMore, Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
It's good to be here. Hang in there. We're hanging in there. The internet is screwy Louie tonight, but you know what? We're going to power through it because we love you so much. And also because we have nowhere else to go or be. So there's that too.
Oh, Sam's botting out like crazy. Good lord.
Yeah.
This is gonna be one of these days. All right, also introducing Jared from the lordsofgaming.net.
Yeah, so I'm having some issues too, so I'm glad to be here and able to talk while I can. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We're very happy to have you here as always, so let's get talking.
Absolutely. And also introducing from Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, Mr. Eric Jackson.
What is going on, everyone? Happy to be back. Missed you guys last week, but I'm ready to go.
Right on. And I'm Nicholas Downey, the co-editor-in-chief of lordsofgaming.net. You can find me on Twitter at Undead3XVI. And now, for our special guest, editor-in-chief of Game Zone, connoisseur of all things chicken tendy and chocolate milk related, and one of the biggest Rockstar fans I know, Mr. Cade Onder. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
I am well.
I don't know why I did that.
It goes to show how wonky it's been recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've completely forgotten how to social at this point.
Yeah. I don't. You guys are the first humans I've interacted with in 2 months. That's not true, but
Online interaction is just starting to go too. You're like, I know these people, but how do I talk?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's a struggle to remember put on pants when I leave the house now.
Right.
I almost left the house without shoes today. I was like, no way. Can't do that. It's not normal.
Okay, as long as the pants are there.
Yeah, it's been a weird one. I'm missing things I never thought I'd miss. Like, I actually miss standing in line at restaurants instead of having to use drive-thrus.
Yeah.
I miss theater popcorn the most.
Yes.
And yeah, it's just really weird right now. And in Canadaland, things are getting better, and things will slowly start to get back to normal, hopefully. But I know a lot of people around the world are still very much restricted, so my heart goes out to everyone that's dealing with it in its varying degrees, whether you're in New York City or Italy or wherever you're at. It's crazy out there right now. So, as always, we'll talk about what we've been playing this week, and since Cade is our guest, what have you been playing this week, sir?
I have Final Fantasy VII Remake. I played about 2 hours of it. I've got that like little after it came out, but I have not touched it all week. I need to. I've been stuck in the Warzone grind. Really love Warzone. I'm willing to say it's going to be one of my favorite games of the year, even though it's not like a game. It came out last year, technically, if we're calling it Modern Warfare, but Warzone fucking rips. Like that is like the best battle royale I've ever played. I can't get enough of it.
I am not surprised at all. I think it was you that tweeted that you'd be very surprised if it didn't end up being one of your favorite games this year, and that's actually what got me to download it. I was like, all right, I need to play this now. And it's super addictive. I find it a lot. I was hooked on, like, PUBG was my favorite. Apex Legends was okay. I really didn't like the time to kill on Apex Legends. And then Warzone came out, and I'm like, oh, I like this.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because it's Call of Duty and they have infinite money and infinite studios to just work on it and perfect it, but they have perfected the battle royale formula in a really concise way so that really anyone can jump in. There's no real learning curve as long as you know how to shoot people, and it does everything right. And a lot of people I know are like, I don't like Call of Duty. I just don't like it. And I'm like, okay, I get it. And they're like, I don't like battle royales even more. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Just try it. And pretty much everyone I've told to just try it loves it, and they will not stop playing it, and they won't even play with me now because they've got their own little band of people. I'm like, what happened to me? Well, I got you into this. It's a unfortunate cost, but I want people to support this thing, even though it's not going to struggle. It's Call of Duty, like I said, but still, it's something that I think everyone should at least give a shot. It's free, even though it's like 100 gigabytes, but you should still give it a shot.
Yeah, it's basically like crack cocaine.
Yeah,
because like it like I played like a couple of hours with it with Sam and Zach from SDGC, and I was like, it's okay,
Yeah.
And then I got out of the lobby with them, and I went and made dinner, and then I was like, I could squeak in another game.
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
I could get another game in here. And then I was like, oh god, this is it's PUBG all over again. I can't put it down. And its mechanics are great, and yeah, it's just really well done.
I can only play so many games, now I gotta play this.
And it's also it's also top tier because you can play as Ghost from Modern Warfare 2, and
it's fucking awesome.
That makes it worth any penny you spend on microtransactions.
Exactly.
All right. I see how it is. All right, I gotcha.
Okay.
Also, I just got a review copy for the Predator game, and
oh, poor you.
Yeah, I haven't played the final build yet. I played that like beta like a month ago, and I was like, oof, if this is how it's if this is the final product, like if it's anything similar to this game is not going to be good. I did not like Friday the 13th. I liked Friday the 13th, but it was so broken at launch. Especially at Xbox, I think the Xbox version was like really fucked up for some reason, and that's where I played it. And it just tainted it for me, and I was super frustrated because I'm like, everything here could be really great, but for some reason they just couldn't execute right. And when I played Predator, I'm like, this isn't even like on paper that good. Like it's pretty basic. Like it's like you kill some guys and there's a predator who hunts you, and I'm like, yeah, I get that, but there's no more depth. There's not a lot of replayability once you kind of in it. Like Warzone is the same thing every game, right? But it's got a good loop, a good hook. It's fun to play. You want to do better. There's new stories that come out of it every single time you play that you can share with your friends, little war stories. Predator, not a battle royale game, but that just doesn't have much to
that beta was so bad. I actually wrote a piece on how bad it was. And I also canceled my pre-order because I had the deluxe edition pre-ordered, and I'm like, whew, dodged a bullet on that one. Because I played a total of 4 games with it. I got Predator first game. I was like, oh, I'm so excited for this. I hopped into a tree and basically jittered in the tree and then fell through the tree in the map. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool. So I had to spend the entire match watching these guys slowly complete their objectives while I was glitched under the map. I'm like, this is great.
It's bad. It feels like a Xbox arcade game from like 2011, and there are good ones, right? There are some great ones there, but this is one of those ones where you're like, that gets swept under the rug, like I Am Alive, that Ubisoft game that was waiting for like 10 years, and then it finally released. You're like, what the fuck is this? This is bad. This is bad. And it's like, oh man, how is the studio getting their hands on 2 of the most popular horror IPs, and they're just fucking it up? And not to get on a tangent here, Dead by Daylight does the same thing. I don't like that game either. I think that game's horribly broken too. Maybe I haven't played it in a really long time, so maybe it's better. But I was like, how the fuck are all these studios making these great like ideas for horror games, and they have these great IPs, Michael Myers, Predator, you name it, they've got it, and they're just like, and it's just so frustrating.
All these great horror IPs, and all we get is asymmetrical multiplayer experiences. It's like, really? I just want a single-player game where I have to hide from Michael Myers. That's all I want in my life.
It could be. There's so much more, and if it was a good asymmetrical horror game, I don't understand why this is so hard. Evolve didn't do it right. Dead by Daylight didn't really do it right. I know there's a lot of people who love it, so I'm probably gonna get shit for that. But didn't really scratch my itch. Friday the 13th, Predator.
Because he told them the truth.
Yeah, exactly. It's just how are we not learning from our mistakes? How are we not iterating on all of this and learning? And it's just so frustrating to watch because there's a lot of potential. And I'm not trying to shit on the developers because I'm sure they care, right? They probably have a lot of passion and stuff, and no one wants to make a bad game. No one wants to cash out. But it's frustrating that passion doesn't translate into the final product.
Yeah, I 100% get that, and that's a tangent I was going to go on today, so you saved me some time. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Because I wrote that piece scathingly about it, and Ilphonic was kind enough to contact me via email. I was like, hey, we saw you had issues with our game, so here's a review copy for the game so you don't have to pay for it. And I'm like, that's a really nice gesture. So I plan on downloading it and giving it a shot, but I'm not overly optimistic.
They seem like good people, so it's not a reflection on them.
Yeah, and Gio Corsi, I love Gio. He's part of Ilphonic now too, and
really?
I've got so much love for what he's done because I love the PlayStation Vita. So I have a really hard time being overly scathing towards them.
Sure.
But at the same time, Alien Isolation is a perfect example of a perfect horror game. And I just feel like if you took Alien Isolation and did it with any other horror IP and give it that kind of tonal respect and make it...
Yeah.
I hate being the guy that's make everything a single-player experience because I know that doesn't work. But with horror, I feel like it only works in a single-player experience because if I have my friend... smoking weed in a party, laughing his ass off, it really ruins the horror immersion of it. And Alien Isolation made me want to hide under a desk for the rest of my life.
It was horrifying. I never finished it because it was really long, but it kind of lost me at the end there it was kind of felt like it was dragging itself out. But if it had tightened its pacing a little bit better, I think that game is near perfect. Did you guys play the Alien vs. Predator game from 2010?
Yes.
I'm one of the biggest fans of that game. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, I think that game it has some issues, but I think that game is about there, especially for the multiplayer portion of that game. I think if you kind of hone it in like that, I think there's something really good there. But yeah, sorry, I don't mean to drag out this conversation or anything. Getting to your topic.
All right.
You know what? With last week's episode, we could have talked about aliens. We could have talked about aliens, colonial marines for a bit. Because we're talking about Gearbox, but we'll move on from that because I'm sorry, I received 60 hate DMs about Gearbox, so I'm good on ever touching them again. So we'll move right along. Sam, what have you been playing this week? Let me guess, more Redacted.
I can tell you. I've been playing Gears Tactics.
Oh, yeah.
I've been playing a lot of Gears Tactics. I can't tell you anything about it or my opinion of it, but I can tell you that. I'll be sharing some thoughts in a couple of days. Jez is the one actually doing the review, but I'm working on some guides, and I'll be sure to share my thoughts then. I'll be sure to talk about it then. I've also been playing XCOM Chimera Squad. Are any of you guys XCOM fans?
I was actually just playing XCOM 2.
Cool. Awesome. Okay. So... Sorry, what was that, Jared? You kind of broke up for me.
I was playing XCOM 2 today, actually, before we...
Okay, cool. All right. Cool. So, Chimera Squad is an experimental game where it changes up a lot of things. There's no permadeath. The maps are a lot more linear. The squad mates have more personalities and
Oh, Sam,
banter.
Discord's assaulting you, bro.
You're not
Yeah,
recruiting faceless soldiers and watching them grow. It's interesting. It does like. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay, Sam.
It's okay.
No, Sam, you're being assaulted by Discord right now.
You are being assaulted by the Wi-Fi gods right now.
It's unfortunate.
Hold on. I can't even do anything on Discord to do like allocation of like Wi-Fi or wherever the database is. Maybe try jumping out and jumping back in. Maybe I don't know if that'll help.
At least it's only periodic. That's the
Yeah.
bonus part.
Yeah.
That's the bonus part.
Man, everything's being overloaded with everyone being at home. We should just switch to Skype because no one uses that.
No one's over there.
Skype's like, hey, we've got
Tumbleweed going through it right now.
Yeah.
Skype's like, hey, we have 5 people using our service right now. This is great.
Please use our service.
Yeah, pretty much. Jared, what have you been playing this week?
Oh boy. Okay, so I've been playing a few games, like I mentioned before. With Sam, I was playing XCOM 2. Just kind of started it today, and just because it's free play days for it on with Xbox Live Gold, so diving into that for the first time and really enjoying it. Actually, kind of upset I didn't grab it a long time ago, but that's okay. I'm experiencing it now. What I think the 2 most important games I've been playing recently is, of course, More Days Gone, and then I put in about 20 hours into the Minecraft Dungeons beta earlier this week too, so that was a ton of fun to get some hands-on experience with, and I'm really looking forward to that game at launch. Like, any Diablo fans out there, if you want something to tide you over until Diablo 4, this is the game you want to be playing when it comes out. I'll put it that way.
I like Diablo, but I like Diablo 1 and 2.
The gameplay is smooth. It fits so well. Like, I don't know how they put Minecraft into this type of a genre or game loop, but I'm all for it. I'm there, man. Like the gear grind and everything like that. I'm good. I'm good. Give me that and then Diablo 4, and I'll be happy for the next 10 years.
Well, you'll be waiting about 10 years for Diablo 4,
I
so...
know.
Actually, no, you won't. They got Rod Ferguson over there. He's going to whip people into
that's a good
making
point.
it into a 3-year game cycle somehow with Diablo, because he managed to somehow do that with Gears of War, so he'll somehow manage to do it with Diablo as well.
Fingers crossed it's 2.5. 2.5! Come on, Rod.
Yeah. Eric, what have you been playing this week, my friend?
I haven't been playing a ton of anything of much, I should say, really. I kind of just been focusing on the original Final Fantasy VII since, like I said, back in the day, I never played it. Wasn't really into the turn-based thing, back when the game came out. But, I am now. And considering that I want to definitely play Remake, I just didn't feel it was right to jump into Remake until I played the original, just to kind of see all the set pieces, explore the world and see what, to have that base of comparison. So so that's pretty much what I've been rocking on and just focusing on, just trying to go through that.
Nice.
And full disclosure, shout out to this version that has like the I think we talked about this last night, Nick, that has the cheats in it, so you can speed it up.
The 3 times speed, it cannot be overstated. Like, that's the only like that and the avoid random encounters one, because at first I only turned on the 3 times speed. And then I realized how many random encounters they throw at you if you don't turn that on. And, like, I'm there to experience the story and everything else. Like, I'll play, obviously, like, Final Fantasy VII Remake to its full extent and everything else. But
here.
I'm just more here to see what the game looks like and how the story plays out compared to the remake. That's why I'm more interested in than experiencing the full, like, 80 hours it could be or whatever the case may be.
No, I couldn't do it. I could not continue with the the random encounters the way like they were. I'm sure that was fine when people played it back in the day, but no, that would drive me crazy now. Because I mean, it's like nonstop. So yeah, so I'm fully okay turning that off, and I turn them on periodically just to like level up and stuff like that. But yeah, if that wasn't the case, yeah, I don't know if I would be able to. I'd probably just jump into Remake and deal with it, or just watch a YouTube synopsis or something.
Yeah, I have to admit, one of the things that's turning me off about Final Fantasy VII Remake is people being like, "Oh, if you want to understand the ending, you have to watch the anime, play this game, and then watch this side TV series." And I'm like,
No, that would put me off so quickly.
I'm like, I don't know if it's true or not, or if people are.
I haven't heard anyone who's been really into the game say that. And I know we know quite a few people. I have watched Advent Children and things like that. Those are good. I mean, it's a good movie if you ever just want to watch it. So yeah, I don't know if that's really the case. Because like I said, I haven't heard anyone. I haven't personally heard anyone say that.
I've heard from people that I haven't heard that either. But I have heard it differs a lot from the original game in terms of its ending and just other story stuff. I've never played the original, and so it's my first time playing it, and I really like it so far. So I'd say go for it. And I mean, if there is that much stuff, that seems like a fucking hassle. But yeah, I haven't heard anyone say that, so I don't know.
I mean, that's how it was with Final Fantasy 15. From what?
Oh yeah, what yeah. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because Final Fantasy 15, when that launched, I thought that was going to be my first Final Fantasy game. And then a bunch of reviewers say, yeah, you need to watch the anime, the movie. And I was like, okay, you know what? No, I'm not this dedicated to learning something new.
But you know what, Nick? I didn't do any of that, and I still really enjoyed Final Fantasy 15.
Well, see, it's really funny to me because, like, I have this aversion outside of, like, a few staple games for me, like Radiata Stories, where I just don't want to touch JRPGs. I don't know what it is, but I just never wanted to touch them. I just always played Western RPGs. But now I'm sitting here and I'm playing Final Fantasy VII right now, and I'm really enjoying it because not only is it like a super serious story, but the characters are humorous as well, which is something that like is severely lacking in Western RPGs, the balance of like serious tones with humor. But it seems to be like JRPGs seem to really balance that well. So I'm kind of sitting there like looking at myself like, why did it take me so long to play JRPGs? And then I look at the completion times for how long it takes to beat the games. I'm like, there it is.
Yeah, yeah. Because I have Persona 5 here, both the original and the Royal, and I just have not gotten around to it. When am I going to carve out? I really want to, but I'm like, when am I going to carve out this 100+ hours?
Man, I am such a sucker for that because like I have Persona 5, I still haven't played it. I bought Persona 5 the Royal Collector's Edition.
Yep, same here.
Which has even more content than Persona 5, which is already 100 hours. And I'm like, I totally just bought 2 of these games, and I'm like, why do I do this to myself?
Hey, if nothing else, I love like the concept of it. I love the artwork. I have like a bunch of anime stuff, and I have a bunch of JRPG like Steelbook stuff and everything because I love the art. So if nothing else, I have it for that reason, but yeah, man, it's just, it's the hour dedication to it is just, if that was all I was focused on, that would be different. But there's just so many games I'm trying to get to and play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing. And like, I'm playing, like, to get into what I've been playing, I've been playing the original Final Fantasy VII, which I started last night. Really enjoying that so far. I can kind of understand where people said, like, when the original writing in Barrett, if they had translated directly to Remake, how people might have had an issue with that because he's the most stereotypical action-based African-American man in terms of writing I've ever seen in my life, in terms of stereotypes. But I still absolutely love him because he's a big teddy bear. But I really enjoy the writing of the game. I really like the tone of the game. I like the humor. The world's really well done. Even for the time period it was being a PlayStation 1 game, I really appreciate the art style of it and everything else. It's just really nice.
Yeah, it's funny because Sarah watches me play. My daughter watches me play so many different games, right?
Mhm.
So she comes in and I'm playing that one, and she's looking at it. She goes, "Are you that girl?" And I'm like, "It's not a girl. It's just a very pretty man." And then she sees Sephiroth, and she goes, "Why are you?" She said, "Why are you talking to that lady?" I'm like, "Again, not a lady. That's a guy." Then she goes, "Why are they floating?" And I'm like, "Well, you see, sweetie, they're not really floating. They're character models on top of a pre-rendered background." So, and she's looking at me like, "Okay, whatever." Yeah. So it was really funny. It was cute.
Shit.
Yeah, man.
I can see that.
Yeah, no. All I've really been playing is Final Fantasy VII and Warzone, and that's pretty much been eating up my time. I've just kind of been sitting and waiting for something that really is going to kick my interest into gear right now, which is really surprising because there's a ton of games out right now, and I just don't. None of them are grabbing me. I think it's because when I was quarantined and sick for 2 weeks, I played so many games. Now I'm just kind of burnt out on everything. I just want something that.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like I'm not to cut you off, but I've been kind of in that same weird place. Like I've been gravitating more to just kind of binge watching some shows and stuff. It's weird. It's like you think, being home and not being able to move
the
much.
same way.
Yeah.
It's that ball in between major titles that you've been looking forward to, and the worst part is we wouldn't be having this issue if a couple games didn't get freaking delayed. But
no, actually, and that's the weird thing is I'm actually glad Cyberpunk and The Last of Us got delayed, because I think even if they dropped right now, I don't think I'd be able to sit down and play them right now.
Really?
I'm really stir crazy right now with being able to get into a game. I'm halfway through Resident Evil 3 Remake, but with everything that goes on in that game plus everything else going on in the world, I just have no inclination to keep pushing on with the game.
And
And
actually I finished that one the other day and I really enjoyed it. I posted those things, but it's almost like little quick hit type things I'm actually okay with, I guess. But
yeah, I have no desire to do a 100-hour game. Right now, my main focus should be Red Dead Redemption 2, but it's not. Right now.
No! If you're in a lull, don't play that game.
Excuse you.
There's just too much to do. It's just
that's the best part, though.
Yeah. See, we're talking about Red Dead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that game, not to go off on another tangent here, but that game does open world so much better than Assassin's Creed Origins, because when I open up Assassin's Creed's map, right, it's not even specifically Origins, but just any of those games, you open it up and there's just icons, and I'm like, I don't fucking feathers and stuff. I'm like, I don't need this on my map. Explore, man. And Red Dead is there's icons, you got your shops and your towns and missions and stuff, but everything serves a purpose for the story too. All the side missions, they are building Arthur Morgan's character, and everything serves a greater purpose other than to be padding, filling, something like that, which is how I feel Ubisoft designs their games, to give you more bang for your buck. But Rockstar very carefully designs their world and their missions and everything around the story, the narrative, and themes and all of that to make sure everything has a place rather than just wasting your time.
Yeah, no, I agree, because one of the things that I hope Ubisoft does with their next generation open worlds, I love the design of Ubisoft's games, but I want them to feel less checklisty. For example, if I was going to put any example to this, is when that news came out about Ghost of Tsushima not having markers. I want Ubisoft to do that, because I want to naturally explore the world to find things. I don't want... oh, here's 50 different types of activities and here's all the icons at once, because that just gives me massive...
too much.
It just gives me massive amounts of anxiety, because I'm oh my god, how much content is in this game? Oh no.
Yeah, it's why I haven't finished an Assassin's Creed game since Syndicate, because I I feel this sense of overwhelmingness. Like, it's like, go anywhere, do anything. And it's like, I don't need my handheld, but I also like don't want all this freedom at once. I don't like the options. It feels like you're just putting in everything just because you can, which I don't think is really good game design. Whereas, Red Dead, it doesn't lock off parts of its world except for the lower half of the map. I won't say what it is for spoilers, but like it introduces you to new parts of the world via the story. Like, you don't go to Saint Denis until chapter 4. You can go there before then, but you probably won't, just because the story naturally guides you there. And unless you are just like, I want to see everything right now, it's way more interesting when the story brings you there, because it's like, oh, we're in a new world, basically. It's like industrial and a complete contrast to everything you've just seen and experienced for the last 20, 30 hours. I really like Red Dead Redemption 2.
I'm completely okay, because it is an absolutely wonderful game.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the few games that has actually been able to make me tear up for a character.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you sons of bitches, you did it. Well, how you did it, but this thing is just damn beautiful.
It's
my time with it. It's wonderful.
Yeah. It's one of the most well constructed video games I've ever played, and I know a lot of people have problems with it. I don't think I've ever really heard that many complaints about like the story or anything, more so like game design and stuff, but I still think Rockstar probably did all of that very intentionally, because it's all about feeling like the character. And some people just don't want that, which is okay. And that's within your right, and I don't think you're wrong for thinking that. But for me, as someone who likes to inhabit a character, not myself, but still be able to relate to that character in some way, I think they just fucking crushed it in a way that no one else ever has. And I think Rockstar's next game, which is probably GTA 6, is they have their work cut out for them, both because GTA 5 set new heights for that series in itself, and whatever that means for Rockstar, and then Red Dead Redemption 2 set new bars for storytelling and technology and all these different things in video games. Grand Theft Auto 6, like, it's overwhelming to think about what that game is going to be, because it's it has to at least meet the expectations set by those games, but Rockstar loves to outdo themselves, so they have to meet it with flying colors. And whatever they do, it's gonna be fucking awesome, and I can't wait.
I agree, and I think that's where a lot of this next generation technology, I think, will be
Yeah.
very important to them for GTA 6, because I think they'll want to capitalize and use a lot of that really fancy technology to bring that next level experience to GTA.
Okay, you guys need to stop jumping into the discussion topic at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Gonna start smacking people. So, since we're talking about Red Dead Redemption, we'll do a mic check to see if Sam's back in full contention here.
Hello, good sir.
Sam?
Little boy.
What?
Yeah, I heard him.
Are you still struggling?
Yeah.
No.
There he
Am I-
there he is.
It is very
Am-
quiet.
Am I here or am I not?
Oh, there we go.
Oh, we got you.
We got you now. Maybe?
Maybe not.
Maybe.
Oh, okay. So we'll keep bopping along. Hopefully Sam catches up. So Red Dead Redemption 2 was announced to be coming to you Xbox Game Pass. On May 7th, you'll be able to dive into the wild, wild west as Arthur Morgan via Xbox Game Pass. And interestingly enough, Red Dead Redemption 2, when it hits Xbox Game Pass on May 7th, is when Grand Theft Auto 5 will rotate out of Xbox Game Pass. This was also announced alongside the fact that Yakuza Kiwami is also coming to Xbox Game Pass, came to Xbox Game Pass. And yeah, so Red Dead Redemption 2 is on Xbox Game Pass. I know every person on this show bought it, but getting this game into even more people's hands is a great move. And honestly, the best comment I saw out of all of this was, I think it was someone responding to Matt Piscatello going, Red Dead Redemption 2's in Xbox Game Pass is bad because then people can play for $1. Rockstar's gonna go bankrupt.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I'm like, what? That game sold 30 million copies, not counting Grand Theft Auto 5 moved like 120 to 130 million. Not sure if you guys understand how money works, but that's a lot of fucking money because I did like the very basic math. It's not, dead on because there's sales and different things, but like GTA 5 made like $7 billion or something if it was sold at $60 a pop, which it's probably, maybe a little less because that game's always on sale and stuff, but
well, if you add shark card spending into that, it's way
then it's definitely way above that. So Rockstar, little company, but I think they're gonna survive. I know they're giving away about 5% of their revenue for the next month or two to the COVID-19 stuff, but I think they're gonna be okay. So selling this game for $1 is not going to hurt them. It's probably only going to do better for them because then like Red Dead has microtransactions too, so people are just going to keep spending and spending and spending and spending, and then people will be on the bandwagon of Rockstar just like me, and they'll be like, I want GTA 6, and they'll buy GTA 6. It's a win-win, and yeah, people think Game Pass is like killing developers. I'm like, I don't think you realize no one would do that if they thought it would hurt them. And they're like, well, Microsoft just doesn't care about developers. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like the whole thing of like Game Pass is evil is so absolutely hilarious to me with the amount of huge publishers that have put their games in there. Like if it was only like small developers taking big cash deals to get on there, I'd understand it, but it's literally like if Rockstar's looking at it and going, yeah, we can make money off this.
Yeah.
And like Rockstar, like they basically have to wipe their asses with like $100 bills at this point because they could. And yeah, like more people playing Red Dead Redemption 2, more people getting into the online aspect, which means people will buy microtransactions, which are discounted through Game Pass. This is the same thing I said when GTA 5 came to Xbox Game Pass, and everyone's like, who cares? It's sold 100 million copies already. Everybody owns it. I'm like, yeah, but now shark cards are on a discount.
Yeah.
And people don't really seem to understand how much real-life money people put into GTA 5.
Oh, yeah. Especially because stuff in that game costs a lot. And I also, something that's really important to mention is there are little kids that exist, and they shouldn't be playing GTA 5, but at a certain age, their parents are probably like, you can play it now. And that's why this game continues to sell. I mean, we haven't gotten to it yet, but GTA 5 still on the MPD. Like it is selling units like no other game ever has. And I mean, you just have to consider that, like, that people are still, there is a ongoing market for that game because it appeals to younger people, because it's the whole I want it because I can't have it kind of thing too, and it's also a great game. And so people are just going to continue to buy it for years and years. And I was just thinking about this, but like within the first 3 days of GTA 5, it sold like $1 billion worth of copies. Imagine what GTA 6 is going to sell in its first day to week. Oh. That is an unfathomable amount of money.
Huge.
That's what makes that tweet so funny, that someone would actually say they're going to go bankrupt. I'm like, exactly. It would take a lot more than
people like
for Rockstar to go bankrupt.
Like, people don't understand. Like, people don't understand. Like, the fact that when Dan Houser left, people are like, oh, he's got to keep working and make another studio or something because, game development doesn't make a lot of money. I'm like, Dan Houser's worth like $80 million.
He owns like, I think I saw something that he bought some like crazy ass property like a few years ago, and like that man can do whatever he wants for the rest of his life. He doesn't need to make video games. He can just go live on an island somewhere. And
pretty much.
role play as Arthur Morgan in real life or something if he really wants to. I mean,
Yeah, like, and that's the thing is like Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, I own it. I own it on Xbox and PlayStation. It coming to Game Pass doesn't matter to me, but it's cool. Like, one of my friends is unemployed right now. He couldn't afford it when it came out. He's hadn't been able to pick it up on a sale. Now he's playing it as part of Game Pass. That's cool.
Yeah,
he gets to experience one of the best stories that was written this generation, and I don't understand why people have to be weird about that.
No, like we would know by now if Game Pass was bad. Like I said, because someone would come out and be like, like people talk about, Epic Game Store stuff. Some developers have a negative impact on that, or not, but other things like that. The developers are outspoken about these things, and no one has said, yeah, I don't know about this, guys. I think it's kind of bad, and everyone is largely supporting it. And I think to just assume that it's a bad thing is weird. Like you said, it would take a lot to bankrupt Rockstar, especially like I'm sure all of their headquarters could burn down and they'd be fine. Like
yeah, like they're like at this point, like I feel like Rockstar makes so much money through GTA 5 that they are going to be bailing out the United States government at some point. That's how much money they seem to make. Because the sad thing is GTA 5 has charted an NPD for years. But what people don't seem to want to talk about too, or a fact people miss, is that it was in Game Pass and PlayStation Now for that a whole year period, where it was on Game Pass for a couple of months, PS Now for a couple of months. And it's still charted in NPD every time.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. That thing's a beast.
Yeah,
yeah. It's something we will probably never see outside of Grand Theft Auto 6 again. Like that, unless that game somehow sucks. But it is a behemoth. It is a monster, and Rockstar has proven themselves in a way that They were a company established a lot by controversy when things started, and then they really started to make that controversy and use it to really market their games in a really smart way and be like, we make great games, and yeah, there's some crazy shit that happens in it, but it's with a reason, and you should play them. And you look at those games, and they continuously prove that they're the best of the best. I mean, it's a weird comparison, kind of, but they're almost the Disney in terms of money with video games. They just print money no matter what they do. It can be bad even, and they'd probably still print money.
Yeah, so that's exactly why they need to make Max Payne 4.
I agree.
Because if they're just printing money, they can spend a few million and print me Max Payne 4, because that would be brilliant.
Honestly, what are they thinking? I still guarantee that game would sell 5 million copies to 10 million copies. I guarantee it, because it just has the Rockstar logo on it, and people just want to play their games.
Yeah, it's just the way it is now. It's kind of amazing to watch. And speaking of things that sold gangbusters, or shipped gold gangbusters, if you want to get into technical terms, Final Fantasy VII Remake hit 3.5 million units across digital and shipped in the first 3 days of its launch. Now, there's an important distinction that a lot of people and quite a few websites decide to skip out on in detailing. This does not mean that Final Fantasy VII Remake sold 3.5 million copies. It means that between digital purchases and copies that were shipped by Square Enix, they've moved 3.5 million copies. It is important to note, though, that many online retailers are currently back-ordered and backlogged on orders. I tried to look into getting a physical copy on Amazon.ca, and the earliest copy I could get was in the end of May.
Wow.
So the game sold like gangbusters, but obviously with COVID-19 and everything, they're having difficulties getting physical copies out into the wild. So I'll hop over to Jared here. Final Fantasy VII Remake selling 3.5 million copies. Did you buy a copy?
No, I did not buy a copy because I'm broke.
My man.
That's because pretty much of not. of circumstance beforehand, but also because of COVID-19, because I haven't been able. A lot of jobs were pulled from the market because of COVID-19 when everything got shut down. So I've been in the hoop for a few months now. So I've been kind of broke, but man, like, let's just say it's safe that it's difficult for people to find a physical copy. It still did extremely well digitally. It's still going to do extremely well physically because there's still a ton of people out there waiting for the copies, and they won't buy anything else except for their physical copies. And yeah, the game's going to do gangbusters. It's going to be obvious, I think.
Yeah,
sure,
absolutely. Eric?
Yeah, I actually pre-ordered it like long ago, so I got mine in, but it was late. It came late. I wasn't waiting for it because I wasn't waiting to play it, but yeah. But that is still impressive, those numbers considering. But like Jared said, yeah, I think it's probably just going to continue to climb, especially with more word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Final Fantasy VII Remake. There's really weird energy around this remake. I feel like there's really weird energy about a lot of things, but everyone keeps comparing it to the Final Fantasy 15 launch and being like, oh, it's not as successful as Final Fantasy 15 was. I'm like, does that change it being a good game? Like, I'm really confused. Like, maybe there's some animosity between Final Fantasy fans about Remake and 15, but
I saw some of that too. That simply boils down to console war nonsense.
Oh, is that because it's not on Xbox? Is why people?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, never mind. Stupidity then. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm kind of like, it's still impressive because I mean, it was as impressive as when people kept saying like, well, nobody wants JRPG games on Xbox, and then you saw the numbers that Final Fantasy 15 did on Xbox, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, considering everything that's going on in Square, the executives and the marketers and the buyers at Square and everything else placing this thing are probably pulling their hair out, trying to figure out how to navigate the pandemic and get this thing out. And that's still impressive that they were able to still pull those numbers in.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand the mentality. Maybe it's because I have so many friends in the indie space. But if I told one of my indie developer friends, "Hey, you sold 3.5 million copies of your game, or shipped 3.5 million copies," they'd probably die of a heart attack of happiness. And I think that's a general consensus. Like, I don't really believe in comparing games to their predecessors. Like, even when we were talking about like GTA 5 to Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 didn't do the numbers GTA 5 did, but that didn't make it a less of a great game.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the thing, is like, you can enjoy games just because they're great. They don't have to sell well. I enjoyed Duke Nukem Forever, and that's been sold terribly. And I on the record is saying it's a terrible game, but I still love it.
Dude,
me too.
You know where I stand with Devil's Third. I love that game.
Fuck yeah.
Hey, you're not gonna find much. You're not gonna
we
find a
support
game
bad games here.
Right.
Like,
let's go.
That's like the only Gearbox game I've ever supported in my life was Duke Nukem Forever. Just because I just remember playing through it, I couldn't believe the game was real. And when I hit the point where it's like, "Hey Duke, you want power armor?" No, power armor's for pussies. And I'm like, what? I couldn't.
That game's really fucking good.
Oh.
I think that game's really good.
Oh man, but yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's doing fine. It's doing great. We'll see more information, obviously, how it performed in North America on MPD. Next MPD, yeah, next MPD. But yeah, it's fine. Everything's good. People can relax. Just it's fine.
And it's yeah, like we've already said, like we're in a pandemic, so like it's hard to get copies out, and some people just can't afford them. But the copies that are going out are selling, because I wanted it a couple weeks ago, and it had been out for like a week, I think, and I went online and was like, I want a disc because I wasn't sure if I'd like it, and I was like, I might trade it in, and it's like a really big download, so I was like, I'll just get a disc, and I looked around, and there was only one copy within like 250 miles of me. And luckily, it was like 15 minutes from where I live. And I went there, and it was only the deluxe edition, and it was the last copy. And I was like, well, I'll take it, I guess. So, it is selling, and I don't think that's anything to be concerned about. And I think that game is finding its audience, meeting its expectations, and I think it is doing good word of mouth too. Because again, I'm not someone who's like a really big Final Fantasy fan, but enough people were like, "This is a good game," that I'm like, "All right, I'm in." And I bought it, and I do enjoy it from what I've played quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games that will have like that kind of crossover appeal because it will answer to the people who are Final Fantasy fans. But then you just look at it and you go, that looks really interesting. It looks fun. You know, and they'll bring people in. This game has taught me something about our community, though, which is a remake can be game of the year as long as it's a game that you like.
Yes.
And a franchise that you like. And because remember the controversy. No, it's just a controversy. That's a little deep. But Resident Evil 2 remake could not be nominated for Game of the Year because it's a remake, and remakes can't. But then I'm like, I'm not seeing that same thing around Final Fantasy VII.
Well, no, see,
people are going to be quiet about it this time around, probably.
Right.
Can I also throw in the fact that I don't think it should be nominated for Game of the Year because it's episodic? I really want to know. The thing that's most interesting about this game to me isn't the game itself, is what are they going to call the next one? Is it going to be Are they going to do what they did with like Final Fantasy 13? Is this going to be Final Fantasy 7 Remake 2 and then Final Fantasy 7 Remake 3?
Yes.
That's probably exactly what it's going to be.
Exactly, yep. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3.
Oh, sweet baby.
Then they'll reprint the first game with Part 1 on it.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's going to be
and then when it's all done, when it's all done, it'll be repackaged again.
When it's all done, and my daughter's in college.
Yeah.
And my daughter's 5 right now, for context.
Great.
Yeah. Right.
Cade will be old enough to go to a bar.
All right, hold on. Let's stay grounded here. We stay reasonable.
Yeah. I got a ways to go. I'm sure that game will come out sooner.
Yeah. Sam, since you are now back among the living, any thoughts on Final Fantasy's sales / shipped / everything else?
Very good. If you've been following MPD, it had kind of gotten uninteresting and boring. Well, I'm not going to say boring, but sorry, Matt, but uninteresting because it was Nintendo hardware win, new games sell well, everything else bad, new consoles needed. Like, it had gotten very monotonous, it droning on. So this was actually a very interesting month to cover. This was the first month Xbox One and PS4 hardware were up 25% year over year, which they haven't been up for several months now. Like, sales have just been tanked. So it was good to see. It was good to see all around. I'm very curious what April and May are going to look like with these big releases, like Resident Evil 3 continuing to sell, but then also, Doom Eternal continuing to sell, Final Fantasy VII Remake hitting, Animal Crossing is a big juggernaut unto its own, but also we're going to see supply constraints kicking in. I'm very curious what April looks like. I'll say that.
Yeah, so we'll cover the top 10 best-selling games of March 2020 was, of course, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Tom Nook is good. And he's a fascist. No. Number 2.
Fascism.
Yay. We do not co-sign fascism on this podcast. Please don't clip that. Number 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Number 3, MLB The Show 20. Little early prediction for you. Whenever MLB The Show goes multi-plat, it'll take number 1 on MPD.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I think
Unless something like Grand Theft Auto 6 is there.
Yeah.
Which it won't be, to be clear. It won't be. So, yeah, without something like that, MLB sells well. It's a respected sports franchise. When that thing goes multi-plat, it's going to be massive.
And people have been begging for that for so long. I never thought it would happen. It's really unprecedented. So when that does happen, that's going to be a big day. And it starts next year, I think. It's with the next one. So...
Yep, this was 2020 was the last exclusive one. We
Yeah.
don't technically know. They've simply said other platforms.
Yeah.
But considering that Nintendo and Xbox shared the tweet and were like, "Woohoo, we're joining the party!" Like it doesn't take
Seems
a genius.
pretty clear. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty obvious.
So MLB The Show took number 3. Resident Evil 3 took number 4. It would have taken higher if they hadn't made Jill less sexy. No, I'm sorry. Just stop. Number 5, NBA 2K20. Number 6, Doom Eternal. Keep in mind that Bethesda does not share digital sales. Number 7, Persona 5 The Royal, which, okay. Number 8, Grand Theft Auto 5, because reasons. Number 9, Borderlands 3, because people really weren't that mad at Randy Pitchford. And number 10,
That
Mario
game sucks.
Oh, it does. It's terrible. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at number 10, and then rounding out the bottom 20, or the remainder, is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Neo 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, FIFA 20, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, which I don't even know what the hell that is. Madden NFL 20, Just Dance 2020, the Wii version. I'm kidding, it's not.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at number 18, Mortal Kombat 11, and then cracking the top 20 at number 20, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Modern Warfare 2, period. I was like, what? Well, that's pretty good, considering that game was a stealth drop and...
Considering it was $19 and it's done by dollar value, not copies sold too, so that's impressive.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And that game comes out on next Thursday, I believe, on Xbox and PC.
And I'm gonna buy it again.
Yeah. That's pretty good remaster, I think.
Yeah.
Very short, but pretty awesome. And there's a lot of rumors going around that they've been looking into bringing the multiplayer over. Possibly they're just thinking maybe if they tweak with it too much, they'll ruin what people like about it. I went back and played Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer recently. That thing's a shit show.
It's not good these days. It's not good these days.
It's quite bad. And like, I'm not even talking about just like hackers and stuff. Like, that game, I don't think we ever like, people knew, but like, I think we have it so good now that when we look back, we're like, holy fuck, this shit was unbalanced as hell.
Okay,
it's just
yeah. I actually wanted to touch. I'm glad someone brought that up because like I was thinking back on it, and like everyone has issues. Like everyone's very vocal about the issues they have with balance in Warzone and balance in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And I'm like, does anyone remember running the ACR with a heartbeat sensor with an AA-12 as a secondary weapon? Like, do you even remember? There is no such thing as game balance in the 360 Call of Duty era. They started trying to balance in Black Ops 2, and then they invented the Peacekeeper, and then all form of balance went out the window.
Modern Warfare 2 is a shit show, and like you just said, we just didn't really realize how fucking bad it was. Like, it's part of what made it fun, but looking back on it, I don't think anyone actually wants that game. They want the feeling they had from that game, the nostalgia and stuff.
I want to.
That is correct. That is correct. And go ahead, Nick. It's all right.
I was like, it's basically like 11 years ago. I was 15 years old doing MLG events every other weekend. I was sweaty. I was full of Mountain Dew. I want that feeling again. I don't. Yeah, it's not about the game anymore.
What were you gonna say, Sam?
I was gonna say I respect them for making the decision to only remaster the campaign. Yeah. For that reason, I appreciate it. And when they do Modern Warfare 3, please only remaster that campaign. There's no need for the multiplayer.
That game's actually all right. Like,
it's all right, but dude, do we need it? That's the thing.
I don't think so. I want Spec Ops. I don't want the
Spec Ops. Yes, Spec Ops fine. Okay, if you want to include Spec Ops, that's fine. But like, just give me the campaigns. I only care for the campaigns.
Sure.
Multiplayer, you've got such an incredible thing going with Modern Warfare. Double down on that. And I'll say this as well. I'll go ahead and put this prediction out there in the ether. Black Ops 5 or Black Ops Vietnam or Call of Duty Vietnam M-Black Ops, whatever on earth it ends up being called, whatever it ends up being, don't put a Battle Royale in there. keep supporting
I
Warzone.
agree.
You've got something good there.
People have pointed this out. The Warzone like key art has like this MW logo like kind of neatly tucked away on it, so that you could like exchange it out with like a Black Ops logo or something, and be like, here is the new Warzone, where it's, you know, still the same game, but you have a new map and maybe new characters, new guns, and stuff like that to keep with the Black Ops theme or something.
Sure, do a battle pass or 2 or 3 based on
Yeah.
the next Black Ops game. That's fine, but the platform, they hit
Agreed.
50 million players
Yeah.
almost as fast as Apex Legends. Like they've got something good here. That game is selling well by Call of Duty standards, which
Absolutely.
are already leagues ahead of other standards. Like, yeah. Anyways, that's my soapbox.
Yeah. So to round out NPD talk, because honestly, the most impressive thing out of NPD was the massive amounts of records that Nintendo just absolutely booted into the dirt. They shattered some records that were even over a decade old. So to get into it, Animal Crossing was going to be, everyone predicted this to be the number one finisher, but not only did Animal Crossing New Horizons become the best-selling game of March, it became the second best-selling game of 2020 in its 10 days on the market from its launch on March 20th. Most impressive part of these numbers is that fact that Nintendo does not disclose digital sales. And to put into context, in the Japan numbers that put out for Animal Crossing, when the physical numbers came out, it was like 1.5 million, and then when they added digital, it shot up to 2.5 million. So digital numbers could put it, I'm not going to say double it, but I would safely put like 30 to 40% of an increase in that. And there could be a possibility where that could be the best-selling game of 2020 right now. It's even been said by analysts that could be the case, which is insane. But what's even more insane is Animal Crossing New Horizons is the third best launch month for any Nintendo published game, only being beaten out by Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which launched in 2018 and 2008 respectively. They also came up on massive hardware sellout, as overall hardware was up a massive 64% across all platforms. Nintendo Switch was a landslide in terms of sales. The Switch generated the most first quarter hardware sales for any hardware platform since the Nintendo DS back in the first quarter of 2010. The Nintendo Switch overall sold more in March of 2020 than it did during the month of March 2017, which coincidentally is the launch month of the Nintendo Switch. But it's important to remember there were supply issues at the launch of the Nintendo Switch. So that podcast episode from 2017 that I was on, where I said the Nintendo Switch was a failure, if we can just get rid of that at some point.
So all I'm hearing is everyone will bow to Nook and his apprentice. Is that correct?
Yeah. Like Tom Nook is counting dollar bills and has hookers and massive amounts of cocaine at this point.
Nook is now an executive at Nintendo because he has numbers to walk in and say, "Look, you thought New Leaf was something. Nah."
Renegotiate our shares.
Yeah,
I want to see the big table. we're talking. I mean, seriously, like, you guys realize there is non-jokingly a chance that Animal Crossing is now a bigger franchise than Metroid.
Yep. Easy.
In fact, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, there is a chance it is a bigger franchise than everything that isn't named Mario. If I'm actually being honest.
It's a bigger franchise than Metroid for the simple reason is that Nintendo actually knows Animal Crossing exists.
Boom! It hurts, but it's true.
No, this has now become. I know, like they knew what they had with Animal Crossing, but I think now it's like that thing where it's like, yeah, it's one of their core franchises now.
Yeah, like, to really put it in perspective, like, we don't have like exact unit counts as of yet. Nintendo hasn't really disclosed anything, but the first 3 days, the game did 2.5 million units in Japan. That's one country. That's not including Europe. That's not including North America. Like, this thing could easily hit 10 million in no time. Like, I don't think there's any doubt it will. It's just how soon with supply constraints and everything else. Like, this thing's going to blow sales records through. And Benji stated it when he was on the show a couple of weeks ago. The attach rate for Nintendo software is insane. The amount of 10 million plus selling games on Nintendo's hardware is absolutely nutty to me. And I say that as someone who keeps buying their first party software when it launches, going, I don't know why people keep doing this.
It's just fun, good stuff, man. It's just quality.
Yeah, and like the thing is too is like everyone always sits there and rags on Nintendo, and they're like, and I agree with the ragging. Why is this game $60? Because they know you're gonna pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a Switch in Christmas of 2019. I got Breath of the Wild on sale for $64. $64 was the Christmas sale for Breath of the Wild in Canada. It was $15 off. Thanks, Nintendo.
And conversely, they in the trade value, the trade market, they they hold their value.
Yeah,
That's true.
like I could trade in Breath of the Wild if I could ever finish it. I could trade it in for like $30, and it's a 3-year-old game. Meanwhile, like when I traded Days Gone in after like 3 weeks after launch, the game was worth like $20. So I'm like, it's a give and a take with Nintendo. I think the amount of success Nintendo's going to see in the future is insane. Like I put this out on Twitter, and I actually want to field it out to Sam because I want to see if he disagrees with me. I think the Nintendo Switch is the only console, this includes PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, that'll ever come close to selling as many units as the PlayStation 2.
With the giant I can't make this big enough asterisk mark that it depends on how long Nintendo supports this thing.
Yeah.
And we simply don't know. We don't honestly know what their support looks like. Demand is still there, so in theory another console isn't coming for at least a couple of years, probably more than that, but we don't know. So with that giant asterisk mark, I agree. The Switch is the only console that will have a shot at it.
Yeah, I just don't.
In fact, I'll go ahead and tell you, I'll prepare you right now. Due to everything going on, don't expect Xbox is a little more difficult because they haven't given as many numbers and they sold slower, so I'm not going to say for Xbox. PS5 isn't going to sell as fast as the PS4 did, at least not out the gate. I'll go ahead and tell you that right now.
They won't have the units to sell it out the gate from what.
Well, yeah, and there's that too, and that's not a bad thing. They're obviously going to be super successful. Don't anyone take that the wrong way. They're clearly going to be, but it's not going to be quite as fast. The Switch, on the other hand, I mean, my understanding, as best I know, is Switch stock comes in, Switch stock sold out. Switch stock comes in, Switch stock sold out. Like, retailers can't keep it on the shelf fast enough right now.
Nope, they can't. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, and to kind of go along with what Sam is saying, I think your indicator is how they support the 3DS. I mean,
yes.
They've not officially said that they're done with the 3DS. They keep saying that, it's still in support. We don't see any like evidence of that right now. Can't think of the last 3DS game that actually launched or came out. It sounds like they may quietly kill it off, but they put the numbers were there for it, so they continue to support it for as long as it has Steam. So I can kind of see them doing the same thing with the Switch.
And it's kind of interesting to note too. This is a little bit of a side topic. I wasn't going to put this in the topics because it's superly financial nerdy. But a company called Value Act actually has been buying up stocks in Nintendo since 2019. They now hold a $1.1 billion stake in Nintendo because they truly believe that of all the entertainment brands that are out there that are investable at this time, that Nintendo is the one that has the widest appeal, and with the proper direction, they could become a huge, massive entertainment company a la Disney almost, in terms of like what they could create. And what that could possibly mean is like, are we gonna start seeing like, I wouldn't mind seeing a Zelda Castlevania style Netflix series. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. And I think that's the natural direction for Nintendo to go next. Is like there's a ton of gaming franchises. They're getting movies and stuff. Like the ever so wonderful Uncharted movie, which I know Cade is eventually going to take over the role of Nathan Drake at some point because he's young enough.
Are you kidding? He's going to be Sully when that thing comes out.
Mark Wahlberg.
The universe has told him 1,000 times that an Uncharted movie is not a good idea. You could pivot that over to a series of some sort.
I will say this a million times over. I will say this. I've said this a million times. I will say this a million times. You cannot cram even a 10-hour game into an hour-and-a-half long movie runtime. Anything you want to adapt from a game needs to be a series. Even if it's just a one-off series like Chernobyl was, where it's only one season, you need that time because you can't make the proper character attachments and development and everything else in an hour and a half. It's just, you can't. And that's why the Doom movie sucks.
Did you know they made a sequel?
What?
Yeah, there's one on Netflix,
it came
right?
it came out like a year or two ago. It was really bad.
Yep.
Really bad.
So, can I share, before we move on, I want to share one thing. Again, to add on to what Sam was saying about, Switch stock coming in, Switch stock flying out. Gaming Forte, who is a manager at GameStop, was sharing some information with us, and he said, he gets calls nonstop about Switch stock. He said, matter of fact, all of his consoles have sold out. They just fly out the store, everything, right? Even the Wii U.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Fuck yeah.
That's how you know this is the pandemic.
Yeah. But he said they had about 90 Wii U's in their stock, and he said they shipped every one of them.
Wow.
Man, what a low point we have hit as a society when we're buying Wii U's to find entertainment.
That's amazing. Thank you.
I'm going to buy an Ouya.
That's no one's buying that. That would be the apocalypse.
No. I'm not even kidding. When this pandemic started, I checked out my Facebook Marketplace, and there was 5 Ouyas for sale.
Fuck
And I'm like, who's gonna risk going out in a pandemic to go grab an Ouya? Like, who's buying an Ouya in a pandemic? But
what's crazy about the Wii U thing is, again, the software is great. The Wii U, the concept was very, whatever. And I'm saying it as somebody who has the Wii U still, and I still love my Wii U, my daughter, and I actually play it. So I can see why people are still grabbing it, because in being stuck at home, it has value, right? But I guarantee the titles that people are picking up, they're not getting them at any major discount. Those titles still, hold value. It's funny. They're probably still paying a small premium for them.
No, I can't even get over it. Like, I was looking at my EB Games before this pandemic hit. They had a Wii U for sale. The console was like $150. $150 for a Wii U. I'm like, okay, I could see that. Could do that. Mm-hmm. And then they had whatever the 3D Mario game, or whatever the Mario game was for the Wii U. I can't remember which one it was.
3D World.
Yeah. They had that, and it was on sale for $39.99. I'm like, beg your pardon.
Telling you, man.
I'm so mad because, when they announced that Mario Sunshine remake and it's $60, I'm going to be the first one yelling on social media being like, Nintendo can't charge $60 for a port, while I'm simultaneously ordering it on Amazon. Yeah, but no, Nintendo gonna Nintendo and apparently be really successful with it. So we're going to move right along to one of... This is funny to me. This news topic's funny to me. So... It was announced by 2K that WWE 2K21 is canceled. Apparently, the game got RKO'd so hard by fans that during a quarterly investor call via Polygon, the company's interim chief financial officer, Frank Riddick, reportedly said there's not going to be a launch of a game this year.
Now, do we think that means it was, quote-unquote, canceled, as in it was already development and then they pulled the plug, or did they think they just never started working on it? Because I know from the get-go they were pretty adamant about, we fucked up here on the last one. Even Strauss Zelnick was out front and center on news channels being like, yeah, we fucked up.
I think it's more the latter. I think it never really began, Cade.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And I think They've actually, haven't they announced that there's going to be like a not a press conference, but like a WWE is going to be making a statement about the future of the games or something? I read something about that
Yeah,
somewhere.
I can't find anything in what I'm reading right now on GameIndustry.biz. Oh, here it is. WE said there will be no game this year. Publisher 2K Games teases more news on series future next week. So that would be
Okay,
this
so they're
week.
going to announce something. My guess is it's like we'll come back bigger and better next year or something like
Maybe.
that. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know why anyone's surprised or disappointed by this because, like, the WWE's been terrible for years.
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't play them, but I've heard they're pretty bad.
Like I have my issues with how EA does sports games, but like I literally sat down with a friend of mine who had all the games, played 15, 16, 17, and 18, and I was like, I can't tell the difference mechanically.
Yeah.
Like, at least, like, Madden, they're like, hey, you can catch a ball by manipulating a button with your finger now, or something. Like, they try to make some gimmick.
There's something.
There's some gimmick.
Even like a
added.
story mode. You know, I think that those games have that too, but like there's still at least something keeping the franchise going with Madden and even FIFA every year.
Yeah.
That you can be like, okay, yeah, I'll justify the $60 this year.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Is anybody in here even a wrestling fan, just out of curiosity?
Nope.
No.
I'm not.
I was in the like as a kid from like the Hulk Hogan days and Macho Man, and then I went away for a while, and I kind of came back to it with like The Rock and Stone Cold, and then I went away for a while. But no, I'm not at this point. But I mean, I used to play all those N64 games, man.
Oh, man, no. I don't
WCW and WOs, all those, yeah.
but
I was
man,
like all about those.
Those are the good games.
Like I had no interest. I've watched very little wrestling. I'm more of an MMA guy because I did martial arts my whole life. But like the WWE games on like N64 and like the PlayStation 2 ones are so good. And I think that's why I play the new ones. It's so disappointing to me because the ones back in the day seemed so much more impressive. And so much more thought out. Like, the 2K ones just feel kind of like they're cycled out. Like, they're just produced. I don't want to say the developers don't try, but it's like the developers don't understand why people love wrestling. Whereas, like, the PlayStation 2 game era and the N64 era, it's like the people that made them were wrestling fans. They knew what people wanted from those games.
Yeah.
But
I think, and I've watched off and on AEW. I think they're trying to capture the spirit of what, like 2000s wrestling was about. Where I think in a lot of ways, for me personally, I think WWE kind of lost the way in what their entertainment value. So I think that they're trying. So maybe, they'll get a license and they'll kind of have like that rivalry thing going again. So, because I kind of feel like wrestling games had like they had that rivalry of pushing each other, and giving it to the right developer or whatever. So maybe you get some of that going again. Maybe that's what it needs. I definitely think that's what football games need right now.
Man, I honestly am a huge advocate for all these sports games need a competitive square off against them. There should be no I never liked NBA Live, but I felt 2K like it kept 2K focused on innovating more, and I feel like with Madden, like why don't we have a Madden Street?
Well, there is going to be 2K got the football license, right? They're doing their own thing. It can't be a simulation or whatever the fuck that means, but I don't know how you draw that line. But they have the NFL license, I believe. They just cannot make the simulation games like.
All I want to do is play an NFL football game with bobblehead Tom Brady. That's all I want.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do go like more of that like extreme route, not like extreme as in like XFL or whatever it's called, but like they made the bigs, right? 2K did. Baseball.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do something like that makes it a little more theatrical,
Yeah. Honestly, I think with where Madden is right now, they did come in, like not necessarily like Blitz level, but yeah, just something a little more lighthearted, a little more accessible. Because I think for a lot of I won't say casual players, I think some people just go into Madden because that's their only option. But I think you kind of need like that football that's a little more like toned down, because I used to be a Madden player like heavy. Like every year I picked up Madden religiously and played it, and I have not done that in over almost 8 years. And every time I attempt to do it, I get into it, and I'm like, it's not really that fun to me anymore. Maybe I just kind of lost that flavor, but also it's very convoluted. And I feel the same way about the 2K basketball games. Like I remember when they just used to be accessible and fun. Like you just kind of get in there and do some things. Now it's like I got to remember how to flip the right trigger while I'm doing the left trigger. I'm just trying to. It's just like, come on,
it's convoluted and contrived.
Yeah. So whoever can bring, hit X or hit, triangle to pass the ball, Eric's good. Let's do it.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? All I ever do with like the Madden games is just slap on run plays endlessly. Just run plays all the time. I can't figure out passing.
It's pretty easy once you get your brain wrapped around it, I feel like, in Madden.
It's kind of like the UFC games. Like when I play the UFC games, trying to understand their grappling controls to me. I'm like, they're like, what style do you want to specialize in? I'm like, kickboxing, because I can't figure out your grappling mechanics.
Yeah. I don't.
Jiu-jitsu count?
What's that?
Jiu-jitsu count?
Yeah, like I trained in jiu-jitsu for like 8 years, and I cannot figure out UFC 3's grappling controls at all. They're like, twist the left stick, tap your wife on the head, rotate the right trigger.
It feels like you're doing everything, but like there's not a lot of feedback on the screen that seems like you're really making that progress. It's like I'm like, am I winning? Am I winning? I don't know. I'm just grappling this half-naked guy's sweaty body, and it seems like we're more just getting very sensual with each other than actually winning. I don't fucking know.
That's the great thing about the best thing they added to UFC 3 was the ability to move your head on the ground. And the amount of times me and my friends would be playing, like, being, like, drunk or whatever, playing it online. And my friend would be like, all right, come on, give me a little kiss. And I'd be like, no. Then you're, like, just watching your characters. They're not doing anything. They're just head bobbing around each other.
Exactly. It's comedy really gold. Strange.
But we're going to talk about something that gets Jared really excited now. Silent Hill rumors refuse to die. Unlike Konami's will to make video games. So more and more insiders are backing the fact that we are going to see a Silent Hill game in May. Period. End of story. Some actual noteworthy insiders are saying there's a Silent Hill reveal in May.
Who are these insiders? Do you know off the top of your head?
No, I just know that people are citing them and saying this is legit, so I'm hopeful.
It's Timmy, the night manager from the Wawa.
Dusk Golem is one of the ones throwing his name around, and he is the source for a lot of the Resident Evil related leaks that have been good. But it is worth noting that when I saw Dusk Golem posting about this, he said that there was talks. I don't ever remember him saying it was already there. I'm going to bounce this to Sam because I know he'll be very much in the loop of what's rumor-wise going on with this. Sam, what is the rumor of this going around? Because as far as my understanding is, it's in talks. Konami's denied it. Now insiders are saying it's a game and we're going to see it in May.
It's so weird.
Like, I don't...
Okay, here's the thing. Okay, all right. You asked me my opinion. I'll give you my opinion. The fact of the... And I'll give you the facts, too. Dusk Golem can be trusted. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to stuff in the past about Resident Evil. I have no reason to doubt him when he says talks are happening for a Silent Hill game. However, I feel like with everyone else, until I'm proven wrong, there's a lot of, me too, me too-isms going on here, and a bunch of people want to ride the train and because it gets clicks, it gets SEO, and it makes good podcast fodder, as you can see here, because we're discussing it. Is it possible that it progressed beyond talks and Dust Golem's info was outdated and in reality a game is coming? Sure, it is technically possible. But if people are getting hyped up, they're going to be disappointed whenever Sony actually does show what they do have coming.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? That's my.
Let me put it this way. There's what I call insiders. There are people like Shinobi, Dust Golem, etc. that I call reliable insiders, and then there's what I call dogpile insiders. And they will state things that are so vague that if they're right, they're right, but if they're wrong, the info changed. I do believe a Silent Hills game will come. I have no doubt about that. But these people the people that are incessantly beating me over the head on social media telling me that one's releasing next year, I just know. There is no way that someone started developing a Silent Hills game for the past 2 years or 18 months and no one heard a peep about it. There is no way Jason Schreier would not have sniffed that out by now. I do not believe that at all.
And the weird thing is, I don't know what this current rumor really is. Like, I've seen it, and I'm still like, there's so much information going around about a Silent Hill game that I know the previous rumor was like one would be like kind of a Telltale style kind of game, and then maybe the other one would be like Kojima's Silent Hill. And I do not think that Hideo Kojima thing is going to happen. No. I think that is a pipe dream, and I know we all want it. I want it more than anyone. But I know the Japanese culture has a lot of things going on there with respect and all that. And like, I think those bridges were burned so hard that any kind of kissing and making up between those two is going to be next to impossible.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to disregard the great point you made, but you seriously sounded like you were slipping into that epic Final Fantasy 13 crap post where I don't know about what you know about Japanese culture. I'm an expert, but honor and respect are a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Konami has shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
And they're not going to make... I'm sorry, but it was word for word.
Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. I agree with Cade. Because the simple fact of the matter is that people are like, oh, Konami will throw money at Kojima and everything will be good again. Kojima doesn't need money. This is a man who cares about what he creates. This is not a man motivated by money. This is a man motivated by what he loves to make. And
I don't think Konami cares enough either.
And like, even in this rumor that's going around, people are like, Konami's not even involved in this rumor. They're simply licensing Silent Hill to Studio Japan, is the rumor. And I don't want to be that guy, but I'm not really excited till I see more, because Studio Japan hasn't really done anything that would make me go, yeah, I need to get excited about a Silent Hill game from these guys. Like, I just brutal honesty. I don't see a reason to be excited right now.
And that's like, and if Jared or Eric have anything to say, please, by all means, I want them to chime in. But just in closing my thoughts, is it possible talks of some level are happening? Sure. But I really, really wouldn't hype yourself up. The Silent Hill game is getting revealed next month by Sony. I wouldn't do that to yourselves. That's me.
I think that is a stretch, and I wouldn't be surprised if like the information has gotten twisted in a way that like it's going, like, if something is happening, it's not going to be public next month. Maybe there's just something happening with the game, you know, like internally or something next month or something like that. I don't know. I think, would it be a fucking awesome idea if that game was like year one PlayStation 5? Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
But
I'd lose my mind.
Yeah, and again, like, I don't think, you know, there's not enough time for Kojima, especially, again, I don't know if that's part of this rumor, but like, Kojima was working on a little game called Death Stranding up until last November, and he was eyes down on that thing, and that there is no fucking way, unless somehow, some way, he's like, yeah, so I can just pick up where I left off like 5 years ago, and they're like, sure.
Yeah. Like the thing is, and I'm gonna pass this off to Jared because he he was a big driver of us talking about Silent Hill last week. And like the thing is like everyone is the expectations that are set right now are so insanely high. Because when people think of Silent Hill, they're not thinking of like Silent Hill Downpour or even the original Silent Hill games. They're thinking of PT.
Yeah,
That's what people
100%.
think of. And that's what people are expecting. And I'm telling you right now, even if this rumor is true, curb your expectations. Because PT, like, don't get me wrong, that game was going to be amazing. That game was going to be special. And everything else. But there are far too many, I put insiders in the biggest asterisks that I can find in my chest of asterisks. There are far too many people that are looking for clout to be the ones that nail a rumor right about anything PlayStation related right now.
It also needs to be taken into consideration that Silent Hill has had rumors for years. You guys familiar with Inside Gaming, like the Rooster Teeth people? There was a rumor a long time ago, I would say probably 2015, 2016, that Microsoft, from these people, that Microsoft bought the like IP to Silent Hill for like $500 million, and I'm like, you're out of your fucking minds. Silent Hill is hardly worth probably like 100 million, let alone 500 million. So rumors like these swirl around all the time, and you know, Inside Gaming is they're a very well established channel and stuff. They're not like, you know, bullshitters or whatever, but that information was very clearly wrong. And I don't know where it came from, but it is entirely. I just would not build expectations, because you will be much more relieved if it doesn't happen, and then you will also be incredibly happy if it does happen.
Exactly. But Jared, please, I want to hear you chime in on this.
All right, so my thoughts on this again with all rumors like this, take it with a grain of salt, like everybody has been saying, because you never really know if it's true. Especially like Nick pointed out, a lot of these PlayStation rumors recently have not been true even in the slightest. Now, to say that, Kojima has started his development cycle based off an insect, the cicada, over a 4-year development cycle for his games. He did that with Death Stranding at the start with Kojima Productions. So if there is going to be another game that is being made by Kojima, he's probably going to be taking a little bit of a break after Death Stranding, a little bit of layover, and if he is working on something, it might be just a little over a year at this point, a year and a half sort of thing. He also has been actually reading up a lot on when after Death Stranding, and that might have been because Death Stranding was, from rumors again, from what I've heard, is that Death Stranding was more horror aspect that I don't know if Kojima wanted or PlayStation wanted. I don't really remember that aspect. I think it was Kojima wanted it more horror, but PlayStation was like, no, just as is, or there's some stipulations behind that. But anyways, he's been focusing a lot more on the horror genre at that aspect recently after completing Death Stranding. So he could very much be working on a horror game up and coming, but what that is, we don't know. It could also just be whatever other game he might be conjuring up in his weird, incredible little mind of his. But it could hold some value. It could not. But at the same time, if there is a Silent Hill game going to come out anytime soon, don't expect to see it for another maybe 2-3 years at the least. Let alone that, like our other panel members have mentioned, the expectation is extremely, extremely high. So the quality is going to have to be there. The storytelling is going to have to be proper. It's going to almost have to be a whole reimagining of the series for this new age of technology. So there's a lot to hold a standard to if they're going to go after this new Silent Hill game. So again, it's not going to be shown. Like if it's going to be shown next week out of some miracle, I don't think it's going to be a very good game. But then again, I highly doubt by like 99% it's not going to be shown anytime soon. If there actually is one being made, if there is one being made, you're not going to see it for another 2.5-3 years at least, maybe. But yeah, that's what it is. That's how I see it right now.
And Eric, before we close out the topic, any thoughts on you? Because I think you're a big Silent Hill fan too. So maybe
I'm not a tremendously big Silent Hill fan. I was definitely interested in PT for all who were involved in that. But I'm trying to think, when was the last good PT game?
Oh, you mean last Silent Hill game?
The last good Silent, yeah.
I think there hasn't been a good one. In my opinion, the first two were the only good ones. Like Downpour on the 360 was terrible.
Right.
I think people like that, like Shattered Memories or whatever it was on like PSP or Wii, I think.
Yeah.
But that's still.
The one on 360 wasn't bad. Homecoming?
Yeah, that was alright.
That was okay, but like it's been a long time for them.
Yeah, because just what I'm saying. I never understand why there's like this rage about Silent Hill. I know it's a respected franchise from those first couple of games, but it's just amazing how anytime it hits the news, people go insane. So it just kind of leads me to believe it's a little bit of the, again, the console war ammo thing, more so than the excitement around the game thing. Because I kind of look at it's like sort of like where there's like smoke, there's fire. So there's probably something going on because it keeps popping up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I always laugh at gamers because I find it funny because it can never just be enough to say, oh, that will be cool if this happens. It always has to be the extra, like the added clout to it, like, oh, it's happening and it's happening next week.
Yeah.
Slow down a minute. Hold on. Back down. Because Konami, like you said, if Konami's involved with this, their involvement is sort of just like, okay, yeah, go ahead and do that. And then send us the check. Because, Konami has, with Castlevania, one of the most popular shows on Netflix right now, and Castlevania Fever, and they are not even blinking. And for as far as I know, in saying, well, maybe we can capitalize on this by actually giving a game to the fans who have been asking for one for over a decade. Or
it's very much a like Sony owns Spider-Man, right? But they license him out to Marvel for the movies, and they handle the creative stuff, and then Sony gets the large portion of that money.
Right. So like all this back and forth, I'm like, I've not seen Konami be that motivated to really be back into the gaming space unless it's just something that's super simple, And I have this talk like with my buddy Ryan, who you guys know is like a huge Castlevania fan, so he's always hoping against hope. And I'm like, you just got to understand Konami, their major interest isn't in the gaming space. I always kind of feel for them, it's like a risk in anything that's, and I said, you want a prime example of that? Look what they did with the recent collections that they put out. They didn't even attempt to do any of it physical. They were like, well, yeah, we'll put them up there and we'll put them digital because that mitigates risk. Just kind of look at it that way. So when I hear these things, I say, yeah, there's definitely a possibility that there's talks going on, but I don't know why it has to ramp up to this fever pitch every single time.
Well,
it's like,
absolutely.
To me, it's a slow your roll rumor.
The weirdest part about this whole rumor, to me, isn't even the fact that Konami would license the game. Because if Konami could license the game to someone without taking a financial risk, they would. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But what doesn't make sense to me is the developer that's supposedly doing it. Sony has a wealth of first-party studios that they could hand this IP over to, and they're handing it over to the creators of Loco Roco, Ape Escape, Patapon, Gravity Rush, and Knack. To
It's
me,
gonna be a Silent Hill rhythm-based game.
I'm not like Studio Japan makes great games, and they're a great support studio. But if I'm Sony, that's not the studio I'm fighting for a Silent Hills license for. And
maybe they've recruited some people from like Capcom or Konami.
Well, there is that. I was gonna say, wasn't there a rumor? There was a rumor that someone from Capcom was going to be working on this, but once again, rumors.
Yeah, it's also weird that Konami has straight up outright said no. Like this is not happening. Like most of the time when these things kind of happen, they're like, we're not gonna say anything. But Konami was like, it's just not happening. And so that is definitely like, well, if people are building hype for your thing and you don't have to fucking do anything, why would you come in and just throw a wrecking ball through that?
Like if there legit is a Silent Hill game being revealed in May, why would you deny it exists? Because then if it does show up, people are just going to call you a liar and never believe what your company says again. Which, honestly, it's Konami, so not a lot of people really believe them anyway. But, like, that's the thing, is, like, it's so important to remember with rumors and everything else, it's rumors. Mm-hmm. And so many people try to gain social media followings off of spouting out random nonsense and hoping they're right. I almost made a video, I've been tempted to make it for eons, of literally creating a anonymous 4chan account, making up a rumor just to see if sites will run with it. And then doing a video being like, I wrote this, this is what happened.
Nick, I'm not going to expose them, but I have a friend who I talk to on Discord who has legitimately done this.
It happens a lot. I wrote that Spider-Man thing a couple weeks ago. Someone was like, "Here's just a fucking wish list of ideas, and it's real." And then media was like, "Oh, we verified this, and it is legitimate." And then and then the guy on Reddit was like, "I actually made the whole fucking thing up, you liars."
Oh, gotta love it.
And there's specific people that are really guilty of this, or, well, like I said, I saw a rumor by a certain person who I have blocked, but someone was quote tweeting it being like, SOCOM's coming back. And I was like, oh, okay. So I unblocked him to take a look. I was like, okay, so what are you saying? And they were like, this is the exact tweet. It was, there's going to be a third-person first-party Sony game that involves around environmental destruction. And I'm like, that is so friggin' generalized that, like, are we getting a PS5 Crackdown 3 port? Like, is that what's happening? Like,
first thing that comes to mind is, like, Battlefield. That even
I'm like, there's, like, 50 different games that are like trying to push destruction and stuff. Like even Warner Brothers, like there was that rumor of that Superman game, and that was legitimate. But like the rumor went that they were like testing destruction stuff in Batman Arkham Knight, and then they were gonna really utilize that in Superman. So it could even just be that you're just picking and pulling from things that are very clearly happening because games are just naturally wanting to expand on those fronts. So like,
yeah, it's stupidity, and the amount of people that will run with a rumor, and then when it's exposed as a rumor, they're like, "Well, I can't get everything right." I'm like,
yeah,
well, that's a stance.
I have a groundbreaking rumor for you guys right now.
Okay.
There will be a new Call of Duty game within the next year. I don't want to set the internet ablaze, but yeah.
No,
it'll have guns.
Cade, I want Call of Duty, even this will never happen, to be delayed, just so I can come back and laugh at this.
I've been wondering if they're gonna delay this thing because legitimately, because I spoke to Glenn Schofield who used to run Sledgehammer Games, and I did an interview with him, and he was like, yeah, we can't. He's not at Sledgehammer, but he was like, yeah, well, right now at our current studio, we can't, do mocap, and we can't go get audio, and we can't do all these different things. And a lot of those things, a large portion of them is done in the latter half of development when you have like a script and you have all that stuff, and you're ready to kind of finalize all those really big things. So right now, Activision has said we are still planning on releasing the new Call of Duty this year. Whether that comes at the cost of maybe scrapping a campaign because they can't get in there and get their actors to act it all out, or they're just very hopeful that things turn around very, very soon, remains to be seen. But I think it would be in everyone's best interest to just delay that game, even to the spring or summer. If I had my way, I'd say push it all the way to the next fall and just give Call of Duty a break, let Warzone run its course, and then Call of Duty will come back with this new energy, because as much as people really kind of shit on it, I think if people would miss it and be like, hey, I'm ready for a new Call of Duty, and we have an extra year of development on the next 3 games that are coming. So that was a little tangent, but I think that would be smart for them.
Yeah, I mean, like, Call of Duty coming every year is that could be a rumor. Like, I'm pretty sure that was a rumor. I remember seeing, I think it was comicbook.com tried to write like Call of Duty is coming in this fall. I'm like, it comes
Really?
every fall.
Interesting.
Interesting point here. Divisive.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I would never have seen that coming.
No.
I think maybe their smartest move would be, fuck it, just say, well, the rumor is, and it's coming from some guy who's pretty reputable within the Call of Duty community, that if that Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer is done, continue testing it until the fall, and just release that, and just be like, here's what you're going to have for this year, and we'll see you next year with a brand new Call of Duty game. I think people will be really happy with that, honestly.
Yeah, I honestly, that wouldn't surprise me, actually. But, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't rumors don't necessarily have to come from a place of knowledge. There's been times I've put rumors out on this show that have facts based on them. As people know, I put out the Obsidian being acquired by Microsoft thing out a month before Jason Schreier ran a report. People laughed at me, people belittled me, and then when it came true, everyone was like, oh, you're an insider, and I'm like, no. I'm not. It's just really easy if you pay attention to stuff, especially if you pay attention to finances of some of these companies. It's really easy to see what they're doing in the background.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of insiders are. There's very few people that are getting, like, no one is getting phone calls from the Hauser brothers about GTA 6. Okay?
Yeah.
No one has inside information on GTA 6. All these GTA 6 rumors, as far as I'm concerned, are not in... They're like, I loved all the people that when they were like, GTA 6 is in early production, people were like, but it came out in 2013.
Yeah, it's like, well, Rockstar fucking literally every single person is working on either A, GTA Online, or B, they're working on Red Dead Redemption 2. It is all hands on deck at those studios. And yeah, I mean, you try to talk to anyone from Rockstar about anything, even off the record, they're like, I can't talk about that. I will get shot in the face. And they are scared. I don't know if they're scared. They take great pride in what they do, that a lot of them aren't going to share any of the juicy details. So
Yeah,
it's nothing. You might get something, but more often than not, it's a dry well.
yeah. The people that show up on 4chan are like, I'm a Rockstar development person. I'm like, now, first of all, because you made it on 4chan before someone shot you, so you're not a Rockstar developer. But yeah, to kind of roll it back to Rockstar for our final discussion topic. With games like Red Dead Redemption 2, The Witcher 3, and many more changing how we view open world games this generation, what improvement to open world games would you like to see next generation? So it's kind of an open-ended topic because there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to change with game design in the upcoming generation. SSDs are going to change how load times affect open world games and how they're designed, how textures load in, how the worlds load in, etc., etc. There's also going to be the power differential, and there's a ton of stuff that could change. The only thing that will remain consistent is it's going to be 30 FPS because of ray tracing. But what are some things you guys would like to see come into open world design going forward? I'm going to start with, let's start with Jared.
Woo-hoo-hoo. All right. Well, there's a lot that you can, really think about and do for these types of games coming up. I mean, the amount of restrictions that are lifted for developers in this next generation technology is quite substantial, and it's going to allow them to do quite a few new exciting things out there. So I think one thing that I would really like to see is more advanced AI, smarter AI for how characters react and just how they adapt to certain situations. And like, for example, in Assassin's Creed Origins, they kind of built the world where everybody has a path. They have a point where they start in the morning, and they have a point where they stop in, at night to go throughout their day doing some business, whatever. I would like to see that kind of advance, but in a more significant way. I think that would really kind of bring a new level to immersiveness into the environment for RPGs. But not even just that in people in general, but in the animals as well. I think if you implemented it into wildlife and maybe even see procedurally generated growth of plant and wildlife throughout whatever game you're playing. So let's say you're playing a survival game and you already have plants and whatever grow back over time, but they kind of just appear over stages. But it'd be nice to see them actually grow throughout whatever you're playing, or yeah, just little things like that is something I'd be excited to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam.
Of these CPUs and the SSDs are what is going to make the big deal. What is going to be a big difference at the end of the day. I want to see better AI. I want to see more AI. And I want to see worlds where the data is streamed in faster, because we're not going to be bound to mechanical hard drives, and because the CPUs can calculate more AI faster at a much greater scale. Imagine Days Gone 2, but instead of 300 freakers chasing you, it's 3,000
Oh no, that's
covering a mountain. Or imagine complex AI that doesn't have to load in every time you reach a new area, with enemies that can stalk you across an open world and remember you, and multiple of them. Or realistic large-scale battles that don't have to relegate all the action to the cutscene, because they can calculate how many different soldiers are fighting on screen at one time. Or imagine jumping on back of a giant mechanical creature in Horizon Zero Dawn 2, and because the data can stream in fast enough, just flying across the map, soaring through the sky. Imagine that kind of thing. That's what I want to see.
You're speaking my language.
That was literal ear porn.
Yeah, I love that. I was kind of just like, I kind of got silent because I was just sitting in my chair like, oh man, what if?
Yeah, absolutely. Eric.
Yeah, I'm kind of on that same wave as Jared and Sam, and I like to definitely see things that actually mean more to the actual world in terms of like destruction and the decisions that you make and how it actually affects the world like around you. So I like to see stuff like that, and I'll go back to this 1,000 times over because I think it's something that just wasn't used enough, and I like to see other people take it and do their own iterations of it because I think it was very meaningful, and that's like the Nemesis system from Shadow of War.
Thank you.
That was just brilliant, and I think I like to see more of that in terms of smarter AI. I like to see more enemy variety. I like to see more intelligence. Yeah, just things like that, and yeah, better map management and things that actually mean something to you. Like you said, not as many checklists. And so the decisions that you make actually affect the world. It's not like you just went back through this area again and nobody remembers you.
Yeah,
what you did, you know.
Eric, imagine. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, but like setting fires and fires spreading through the world realistically. Or chopping down trees, seeing trees grow realistically. Like, yeah, the old Fable demo by Peter Molyneux, but imagine it actually working something like that. Or, destroying a dam, blowing a dam up with explosives, and a river floods a village. And it completely changes the landscape. Like, that kind of stuff is exciting.
This kind of stuff just speaks to me that Sam wants to be a villain in whatever game he wants, considering it's starting
I'm very
fires
repressed.
and blowing up.
I'm very repressed.
But
Big camping guy over here.
But imagine that, Sam. Like you flooded a valley, and that actually throughout the rest of the game that changed the dynamic of what happens to you when you revisit this region.
Well, that's a lot of what they're doing with Dying Light 2, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Dying Light 2 is very promising in that regard, because it looks like they're kind of trying to do some of that stuff. It's very good.
I'm gonna let Cade go next because I'm gonna go last. So
Okay.
Cade.
A lot of what Sam said, but also things like interiors and like GTA and stuff, because there's buildings you can go into GTA and Red Dead. Red Dead's a little more expansive. There's a lot of houses you can go into and stuff, and I think being able to explore new environments that aren't just outside, and being able to go inside buildings, and what that changes for gameplay. Like if you're being chased by the cops in GTA, you drive down an alley and then bolt through a back door of a building and hide in there or whatever. GTA 4 had some interiors too that were, like apartment complexes. You couldn't go inside like many of the apartments or anything, but you could go inside these buildings. And it's cool to see those kinds of things, and to see those things expanded on would be great. And yeah, just moving through these worlds in more interesting ways, like Sam said, with flying on like a mechanical pterodactyl or something. And there's so many possibilities, and I feel like when we look at these games, we just think, how can it get any better than this? But we've been saying that for decades, right? It's like, how do they keep going, and they always do. I mean, look at where we're at compared to like the 80s. It's only going to continue to get better, and seeing how people challenge themselves creatively. I really can't think of anything too groundbreaking. I do like what Sam said with the fire. A lot of Ubisoft games, like Far Cry especially, have like kind of tested those waters with fire really realistically burning up fields and stuff, and that's cool, and I'd like to see stuff like that too.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to point this out because this has been something I've been watching on social media and forums as conversations shifts to talks of next generation. And a lot of people this whole generation have been caring more about pixel counts than they have necessarily about innovation. It really breaks my heart that a lot more people paid attention when Shadow War came out with grindy microtransactions than anyone paying attention to how innovative the first game was in terms of its design. Dying Light was another game that had fantastic world design and had one of the best expansions of any game this generation, besides maybe The Witcher 3. And people kind of just coasted over it. But now with everything going on and whatever reason people are talking about, whether it's genuine or disingenuine, more people are saying, I want game designers to be more creative in their design and how they build their worlds and use the hardware for more than just pushing pixels. And I think that's the most exciting thing because like Dying Light 2 is an example. I think once again, Ubisoft though, Watch Dogs Legion, the whole anybody is playable thing. Like, I don't understand how everyone went, it's another Watch Dogs game. I was sitting there like, I could be an old lady with a Desert Eagle.
Yeah, I was gonna create an old granny squad.
Yeah, like that's really cool to me. And there's been tons of games that have played with immersive elements that I think are going to be really exciting. I'm really excited to see what Arcane does with next generation hardware. How immersive can they make a game with the technology in their hands? Like, give me a Prey 2, call it something different. Give me a Prey 2 on PS5 and Xbox Series X. Expand that world. Expand what the AIs can do. And AI push forward is like the biggest thing to me because in 2020 we still have stealth games that release with AIs that are dumber than stumps. And like one of the most exciting things to me, and this once again goes back to my own, I'm not going to call it a games bias, but I want to see what IO Interactive can do with the Hitman games if they can push their AI even further. Like, I want to know. Like, I want it to be to a point with a Hitman game where if you mug a guard and take his outfit, if that guard was on a rotation with someone, if you walk by that guard, he's going to know you. That you're not that guy. Because the guy with the long blonde hair is gone and now there's this bald guy that's wearing Tim's uniform. Like, I want them to improve on that. I want them to build on that. And open world design, I think Breath of the Wild did some really amazing things with what they did. I have complaints about that game, but there's some things that were done in that game that no other game's ever done. And I think The Witcher 3 set a new standard for RPGs in terms of your side quests actually mattering. Because so many RPGs are filled with filler content. But The Witcher 3, Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is one personally for me, whereas like everything felt like it had weight. You may do something at this time, but does it affect something down the road? You don't know. And that's the thing that I want more. And it's so stupid because we make fun of the Fable games, especially for like Peter Molyneux's fucking old pitches for Fable and never being delivered on that promise. But even in Fable 3, you had to make decisions, and then those decisions would affect the world around you and change the world around you. And that's not something we've seen with a lot of game design. Like, I don't know. It's something I want to see more of. Like, if I'm playing a game pitch that I've always had is playing Alexander the Great and going across and just pillaging and everything else, but choosing how you want to become a ruler or an emperor or whatever. And how you handle each situation changes the world around you. And like, if you enslave a whole city, the next city's not gonna is gonna fight you that much harder, and it influences your decisions, influence those around you. It's basically expanding on the idea of Telltale, taking that your decision will have consequences. You know, Persia will remember that essentially. And that's just what I want to see from next generation games. I want to see improvements in how the actual game is built from the ground up. Because 4K 60 is going to be the standard. Or 4K 30 with ray tracing or whatever the case may be. But I want to see actual game improvements and innovation. Because my biggest complaint with people, especially in the social media space, is everyone sits there and whines and complains that AAA games don't innovate, they don't improve, they don't take risks. But then when developers take risks and make those innovations, people don't buy those games. They continue to buy the games they complain about. And if you want developers to break outside of the classic AAA mode, you have to support the games that do it. And it's so funny because when Cade talks about the brilliance of Red Dead Redemption 2, I get it because it's all in the minor details. But most of the people that play AAA games that didn't like Red Dead Redemption 2 were like, oh, there's too much details, there's too much stuff, it's just overwhelming. I don't want to... People want to turn their minds off and not care. Like, that's fine. If that's the kind of game you want, then cool. But that doesn't make that style of game wrong. I hope that makes sense in some convoluted way.
No, yeah.
I agree.
Like, and I think that's why, like, Dying Light, the original one, was really good. But what Techland's doing with the second one is mind-blowing to me. And, like,
Yeah,
like I can't, like, I want to get my hands on that. I know it's not coming till 2021, but at the same time, it's like, take all the time you need. It looks brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it sucks that E3 didn't happen this year because I'm sure it would have been playable there in some capacity. Because I don't know if you saw it at E3 last year. I think they released that demo online, but that demo fucking blew my mind. Like, there were people in that room, like, that I know were like, they've been in this industry for a while, and they were all, you know, sitting there. And you know, the first game was good, but like, it's nothing besides, you know, the free running and stuff. It's still a little clunky and stuff, but like, the second game looks like bonkers. They're clearly using all that money they made from the first game, and like, this is next gen. This is it. And I'm like, I'm here. Let's go.
This is ridiculous.
It looks awesome, man. Yeah.
I love the first one. So one thing I was actually kind of mentioning not too long ago is that there aren't very many good zombie games out there, let alone AAA horror games. So, like, if you can get Dying Light 2 just to really be that good, please, by all means.
Oh,
do
yeah.
it. And if you need to take the time, because I'd rather have the money there than a half, shoddy product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think you'll ever see that from Techland either.
No, absolutely, I agree.
And I think, we're going to put this in an early prediction, Eastern European developers, CD Projekt Red, 4A Games, Techland, that whole area, they are going to be a driving force of what we consider next-gen games to be.
I think so.
Because, Metro Exodus, the fact they got that to run on this generation's consoles is mind-blowing to me. What The Witcher 3 did for RPGs and what Cyberpunk is going to do for open world FPS games specifically. I full-heartedly think that Cyberpunk is going to become the first-person alternative to, I'm not going to say GTA, because GTA's got so much behind it now, but like GTA when it was like GTA 3 and 4, not GTA 5, in terms of what it means. But I don't know. I'm incredibly excited for next gen because I want to see what kind of games we can make, and people just won't shut the hell up about hardware. And I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Not
I
the
don't,
gaming community, it's the specking community.
Yeah, I don't care about specs until it's under my desk. Or, sorry, on my desk. My consoles don't go under the desk. There's a joke in there somewhere, but... no, I'm disinterested. But yeah, pushing next generation innovation, I don't care how they do it. I just want to see it. And like, I will never pretend to be a spec guy or tell you how they can achieve it or anything else, but I just think with what's being laid out in front of developers right now, we're going to see some amazing stuff. And not even necessarily next gen, I'm just saying like the stuff that's coming up. Like The Last of Us Part 2 and Cyberpunk 2077 are going to push games to a whole different level than we've experienced. I really think The Last of Us Part 2 will do for third person, I'm going to say linear, because I'm still hoping it's somewhat linear. Will do for third person action games similar to what Red Dead 2 did for open world games, is the level of detail will be insane. But to wrap up the show, we got some questions that were pitched towards us. I filtered out all the chicken tender related questions because you would not believe when I announced that Cade was coming on the show and we would take questions. How many people that I did not follow DM'd me and asking me chicken tender related questions.
Really?
Yes. But shout out to those people.
Thank you for my loyal people. I really don't say it enough, but really thank you for giving me a platform and supporting me and tweeting me your chicken tenders. It really does mean a lot to me. It's goofy, but I do love it. It means a lot to me.
It's weird when people latch on to something you really enjoy and then it becomes part of who you are.
Yeah.
Like, I literally shit posted about Baldur's Gate for like years and no one gave a shit about it, and then Baldur's Gate 3 got announced and all of a sudden it's my personality. Like, I will get tagged in random tweets of someone buying Baldur's Gate and they're like, hey, see, you did that. And I'm like, what? But like, it's
crazy.
It feels amazing though. So actually the only chicken tender related question I let filter through was, is popcorn chicken a chicken tender?
It's not a chicken tender, but it's definitely, I do have a soft spot. I mean, chicken nuggets, chicken tenders, popcorn chicken, I think they're all great, and I think they all belong together. That you can't hate on them. You can't hate on them. Popcorn chicken is perfect, bite-sized. You can take it with you on the go if you really want. I mean, like, there's a gas station near me. They sell them in cups, and I'm like, absolutely, I'm in. I'll take that. And I just eat it. I just eat them on the fucking highway or something. I'm just like, hey, this is the life I want to live, man. So, absolutely, I support popcorn chicken all the way.
Man, I could so get behind popcorn chicken right now, but that's also because I'm kind of drunk at this point. But also, there was a question, and this is a general question for the panel at large. What is your most anticipated next generation game, whether it's announced or you're willing to will it into existence? So this is for everyone. So, Eric, what's your next generation game that you need absolutely with no hesitation?
Hellblade 2 and Sunset Overdrive 2.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Sam.
I mean, we know it exists. Playgrounds RPG, aka what's the Fable reboot, long rumored. I want to see Playground take on an RPG. I cannot wait to see what that looks.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
have
that's
to
a
get
good one.
behind that. Just the concept art. I'm like, just give me. Um, Jared.
All right, this one's gonna be way out of left field. I want a complete reboot of Lost Planet.
Ooh.
Okay,
All right.
go on.
Love that game.
One without a cheap green eye that just destroys you like every time
Don't get me started. It was great. Like the first two games were great, and then I hit the third one. I was like, oh no. But yeah, well, honestly, there's one of those few games where I got it from Blockbuster growing up, and I tried it out. I was like, yeah, it's actually not bad. And the more I played it, I ended up getting hooked into it. I think their concept is just absolutely a game and a story. I think it could be retold very, very well in a new light, especially in this whole next generation kind of technical standpoint. I think it could really just be a standout, beautiful, beautiful game. And yeah, it's just one of those games where it kind of sits in the back, like in the back of someone's mind, where you go, "Oh yeah, it was good," but you don't think about it too often.
Yeah.
And then when you revisit it, you go, oh, "Man, this actually really holds up really, really well." So I would really like him to kind of bring that back into it.
Man, you really threw me back with Blockbuster, because now I'm thinking about the time I conned my dad when I was like, I think I was like 11 years old. I think I was 11 years old. Yeah, it might have been 11 years old. I'd have to check the date on it. But I conned my dad into renting me Bulletstorm.
Fuck yeah.
And I got grounded for so long because my mom came in at the part where he's like, "You want to kill my dick?" And I was like, oh yeah, I'm grounded. But so many good game memories from Blockbuster.
Absolutely.
Cade, what's your one game wish that isn't GTA 6?
Yeah.
Damn it.
God damn it.
Red Dead Redemption 3. No, I'm joking. I don't know. There's a lot. It doesn't even have to be a specific like sequel or anything, but like I want a really good Star Wars game. Something in the vein of like a 1313 or whatever Visceral was doing. I did not care for Jedi Fallen Order at all. I thought that game was really boring, and I thought it was not very fun. It wasn't even like difficult like in that kind of way or anything. It was just it didn't speak to me, and I do think it's true to Star Wars in a way. I think that game's lightsaber combat, I might have talked about it on here, that game's lightsaber combat is very indicative of the like original trilogy's lightsabers, you know, how it was much more slower and stuff and not flashy like the prequels and the sequel trilogy, which is understandable, and I respect them for going that route. That was an interesting choice, but wasn't for me. So good Star Wars game. Battlefield, a modern day Battlefield. Again, bring it back. Let's go. World War II. Yeah. Battlefield 5 didn't speak to me either. Did not care about that. Did I just piss you off?
No, don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. EA doesn't. Don't worry. Apparently, EA doesn't care about Battlefield 5 either. So.
No,
Yeah.
I'll know. It's just when they're stopping updates.
Yeah. It's a shame what happened, because Battlefield 4 I think was the last like truly great Battlefield game, and
Agreed.
I want to see a return to that. Even Bad Company 3 is great. I would love to see that. So a lot of things like that, and I think there's tons of other stuff I'd like to see. Just there's a long laundry list. I won't waste your time, but there's a lot of cool stuff that I hope we see this generation, both in the form of new original games, sequels, and so on, remakes even.
Yeah, the remake, the whole remake boon, I think we're gonna hit next generation is gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
because I think with Resident Evil and Final Fantasy having the comebacks they did, a lot of people are going, huh, kind of old IPs we got in the back pocket over here.
Yeah.
So I can't say Baldur's Gate 3 because it's technically a current generation game. So if I was going to throw my hat into a game that absolutely needs to come back next generation, and we have a gentleman from Ubisoft that will be joining us in the upcoming weeks, and I will be bringing this up to him, is we need a goddamn Splinter Cell game. God
Fuck yeah.
damn it.
Fuck yeah, Blacklist fucking rules, man.
Like, You cannot just keep bringing him back. You do not just bring him back for Ghost Recon add-ons. You cannot do that.
I agree.
Like, either that, give me a Prince of Persia game. Because the whole argument that Prince of Persia can't exist because Assassin's Creed existed is so moot at this point. Because Assassin's Creed is not even Assassin's Creed anymore. So, yeah, just give me Sam Fisher in something that isn't a mobile game or a Ghost Recon game. Just stop putting him in Ghost Recon and giving me hope. Yeah, that's it for me.
No, yep, you got it.
I will also throw in that if they remake Quake, I may not be able to control what goes on in my pants for a week. But that's a different story. The final question we had was from a gentleman named Steven, who wants to know, since that so many of us are games writers and podcasters for Eric, what got us into doing this in the first place? Who were our main influences, or did you just start doing it one day? He wants to know because he is an aspiring writer and has been listening to this podcast since episode 1, but is intimidated by the uphill battle of writing. So, who wants to field this first? Because I don't.
I'll go. I feel like I don't know if I've talked much about how I began, so I'm down if you want me to.
Yeah, go for it, Cade.
So I was 14 when I started, and it all kind of came from I was definitely interested in video games and working in this field, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was like, well, maybe I'll develop them, and then I was like, oh, I'm not smart enough for that. So I was like, okay, fuck that. And I realized I didn't know I could write, really. But an opportunity came from what is now Windows Central, a site called ICXM, which is run by Jez Corden and Asher Madden. And,
oh my god, you used to write for ICXM?
I sure did. Yep.
Same, dude.
Really? I think that might be how we've maybe like met. I don't know if you were writing with me or anything, but I think I remember something like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's where I got my start. Wasn't making any money from it, but I was 14, like I said, so I didn't need any money really. they gave me games to review and the platform to write, and I think starting out as young as I did was very beneficial to me because I had a lot of time to prove myself, and then I got hired at Game Zone, and it just gave me time to really build a portfolio for myself. And then people maybe looked at my age and were like, well, he's making something of himself and he's not even out of high school. And I wasn't even, I think I was still in middle school technically when I started. So just finding a platform, a place to be, and building up. Don't worry about making the big name for yourself right away or whatever. That's not to say like I'm big or anything right now. I'm not. But don't worry about that. Just do it because you love it. Because that's why I did it. I was like, I want to be part of video games. I want to have something to do with them. And if you don't think you're a good writer, just write, because you will not get better unless you practice, and send it to people to look over. There are people in this industry that I know who definitely didn't have to talk to me, and they were like, yeah, I'll give you some tips and stuff. And just reaching out to people, it's networking, but it's a way to build relationships and learn. There's a lot you can do. The world is your oyster is the best way to put it, but it's definitely a little daunting at first, but once you get in it, people are happy to help you. And there's a lot of great PR people who will help you get games and stuff if you want to do reviews. People that definitely look out for the smaller people and help. And, those are the people I'm endlessly grateful to. And so I think it's not impossible. And it's definitely, I wouldn't even say that hard, as long as you have the drive, the passion, the knowledge, and the energy to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
Actually, I want to ask Eric, because I've known Eric for crap, probably about 4 years almost across Twitter and everything else. And I have no idea why you started podcasting about video games at all. Like, I've never even asked you about it. So, like, how did that start for you? Because you used to write as well,
Right.
back in the day as well. Because that's how I originally started following you as well, if I remember correctly.
It seems like eons ago, actually. And I think in some pool of all of that is how I met Sam. and but yeah, I started off writing for EXL, which was run by Bella Rise, probably over 5 years ago now, I believe. And she just she kind of put out the feelers to see if anybody wanted to write. And I remember contacting her and throwing my name into the pool, and that's kind of how I just started writing for that site, and I did that for a few years, and that was also the genesis of my podcasting career. When she launched she had the podcast, for the site, and started off there. We were doing these developer podcasts, where we had some smaller name developers come in and just have like a Q&A and discussion with them. And that's kind of where I got to start on that. And then from there, just kind of like guest spotting on podcasts, jumping around. And I remember Enrique used to be with Mike Mullis, and they were doing the NLG thing, and then he kind of broke off and started his own thing and asked me to come on as a guest, and I just never left. It just kind of grew from there. And that's pretty much, that was it. But I do remember being super nervous, my very first podcast, and now it's very much a second nature. Like, you don't even think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So advice I would give is, very much like what Cade was saying, and I'm pretty sure Nick and Sam will say the same thing, is if there is an outlet, if you're on Twitter and you follow certain outlets, sometimes they throw out feelers, and you might just want to start there, or just start blogging, and if you're and I look at it, cream rises to the top. If you're writing good stuff and compelling stuff, they will find you.
Yep, exactly. And a great place, if you just want to start on your own, like WordPress is pretty easy to set up, and I've never used it myself, but I know a lot of people like write on that website Medium, which is
mention that too.
Yeah. So there a lot of Medium's free, I believe. I think so. Yeah. So there's no reason why you definitely cannot have a place to put your writing out there, and even if no one's reading it, which may suck, but like people will get there eventually, especially if you share it and you're writing unique and interesting stuff. If you find angles, and like he just said, develop a podcast. That's great. People want to hear from these kinds of people. If you find a niche or anything and you break mold somewhere, people will find it, and it gets shared around. And the best way to do that is putting it out there, and then the people who find it, they'll share it on Twitter, they'll share it on Facebook, Reddit, Reset Era, you name it. It happens, and it's a great feeling when it does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we've all seen that in some sort of capacity.
Yeah.
Should I go next on this one?
Yeah. Hey, Jared, go ahead.
All right. I guess for me, I got into writing and podcasting probably about writing 3 years ago. Podcasting only about 2. But for me, I've always wanted to engage in proper discussion about video games, and I will talking about them. And my biggest issue I've always had is discussing things or talking about things vocally. I have a big issue trying to properly portray what I'm trying to talk about, or get through, basically get into words what my brain is wanting me to say, but it never really comes out that way. So I have a hard time speaking, and like you probably are noticing now. So with writing, it helps me bypass that problem, where I feel really talk about things, and it allows me to actually portray my side of a topic, or of a situation, or how I feel about a game, how things should run. It really has helped me find an outlet to where I feel comfortable about talking something that I'm truly passionate about. And really, I just kind of wanted to start talking about it. I went for it. Like, I wanted to start writing about it, so I looked up into what I needed to do to really kind of start doing it, and I just started writing. I started writing on Medium. I only wrote about 3 articles, And then I got picked up by a small site called Loot Gaming, and it's a small site looking for writers, but you write for them for free and whatnot. It's not a paid job, but it's still getting your foot in the door into whatever site. So that allows you to start building that kind of portfolio, that repertoire, that almost resume for you to build that reputation for your writing and to practice your skills, to work on that quality, to get it up there to where you will end up getting noticed by people out there, just like everybody else is saying here. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but a lot of it can be very fulfilling and not fulfilling. Just know that if you're steady and consistent, the payoff is big. Like, I've been only doing it 3 years. By my first 2 years were not very good. I go through a lot of mental health issues, a lot of mental struggles, and there's other people out there that, especially people close to me that I know, especially with you guys, like I know there's some people out there that suffer with me, and it's not easy to deal with that at the same time. So if you are consistent enough and if you are just wanting to write and you're passionate enough, you can do great things.
I think it's also important to note that sometimes, and you don't have to do this if you don't feel comfortable with it, but sometimes tapping into those personal things and maybe sharing a personal story and how it relates to a game or something that really hits home with a lot of people. They find relatability to that, and they find those stories interesting. I got some of my close friends made fun of me for it, and it's totally fine that they did, but I had a bad breakup last year, and I wrote an article about how Red Dead Redemption 2 helped me through it. And a lot of people DM'd me and told me how much it meant to them, and how they were like, yeah, I mean, like, I had a bad breakup too or something, and I played this game or that game, and I really appreciate what you wrote. And, you know, those that is especially fulfilling when you know that you've made some sort of impact more than just like someone listened to your opinion. They resonated with something that's true and personal to you. That's a big thing with writing in general. People always say, write what you know, and that is something you will know more than anyone else, is your feelings.
Absolutely. And grades for very good reading. Writing's a wonderful to get that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, you can. I'll close this out. Sam, you.
For me to talk about, because I feel like to do it this quickly isn't going to be doing justice to it. If I'm being perfectly honest, so I'm not going to give you my life's history in terms of how I got to where I'm at. What I will say is this: I will reiterate to what these guys said. If you're interested in it, work hard at it. Work for yourself. You know, a Medium blog, something like that. Medium is a good place to start. Share your thoughts. However, and here's the thing, this is not me trying to be harsh or rude, this is just reality, and you need to understand this. You need to find your voice. Repeating things that other people say is good for news. News reporting is a good skill, but you need to find your voice. I know some potentially promising writers that I followed for a bit that I thought, okay, this is interesting. And then for an entire year, all they've done is repackage the exact same statement over and over and over. That doesn't work. You need to find your voice. And you will find it. If you're interested in this, if you have passion for it, then it's there. Are you interested in podcasting? Are you interested in writing? You know, just start small. Don't overwhelm yourself. Build yourself up and figure out what you're attracted to in this industry. Is it just hanging out with friends? That's not bad if it's the case. Is it the financial side? Some people are interested in the financial side. Go follow Benji Sales and Matt Piscatella. Are you interested in simply, you know, the publisher side of things? Start hitting up marketing people on Twitter. But above all, find what you're interested in and go from there. I'll give my life's history some other time.
Yeah.
It's too long.
Yeah. I'll give a brief synopsis of mine, only for this, like Sam. It's been a long trek, But there's certain key points I have to hit because there's certain key people that I feel don't get enough credit or were huge parts of what kept me going at some parts. I've been writing about video games since about... I started writing about video games in 2017, got really bummed out at my lack of... I'm not going to say success, but lack of knowledge was a huge part to me. Because the thing is I did YouTube a lot. I had a very successful Call of Duty channel. So I kind of had an idea in my head that I was a lot smarter than I was. And then when I actually got involved in industry stuff, I realized I didn't know anything. And that was a really hard lesson to learn. And I give Ivan from Multiverse Podcast, who's been a close friend of mine for years, probably one of my longest online friends. He got me into writing. He got me into my first site, got me acquainted with people, and has been a constant guide on people to meet. Like, when I was working at the Inner Circle writing, I would never have met Sam if it wasn't for Ivan. And Sam, even though he's in this podcast, I'm obviously not going to talk a massive amount of garbage about him because he's here. Sam was very critical in my writing and development stage because I had a lot of really good ideas, but I wasn't necessarily good at conveying them. And Sam was brutally blunt, and I absolutely love it about his personality. And went, yeah, this is a really good idea on paper, but how you wrote it was terrible. And I learned a lot from that.
You can learn a ton.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, I originally started taking an interest in industry stuff because I started listening to Kinda Funny and Podcast Unlocked. Because Ryan McCaffrey and Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty were so knowledgeable about all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I want to know that much stuff.
Yeah, I was the same way with IGN podcasts, like Podcast Beyond and Podcast Unlocked and stuff like that. That was, big starting point for me too.
Yeah, like, it got me involved in this stuff and realizing that games don't just appear and you play them. Like, that got me thinking beyond that. And, like, I've had ups, I've had downs, I've been all over the place. You're gonna have ups and downs if you're a writer. It doesn't matter who you are. Even if you're a 100% positive person all the time, you're gonna have downs and you're gonna be like, I suck at this. I go through it on a somewhat monthly basis where I'm like, oh, this is a really good piece, but it took me 6 garbage pieces to get there.
Yeah.
And writing about what you love is the most important. And don't let people dictate. Never write pieces. If you're starting out writing, never write pieces for views. That's my biggest piece of advice. Don't write pieces for views. Don't write something that you're going to sit there and you don't 100% believe in. Because the only thing you will ever sell yourself short on is selling yourself for views. If you 100% believe your opinion that you're writing down and it is something good, then write it. There have been pieces that I've read where I went, wow, that person really put their heart and soul into that. And I've had a few pieces I'm really proud of that I've written. But the absolute capping piece for me, the one that goes down, is the piece that really cemented to me that I need to do this because I am good at it. I just need to keep going. Was when I wrote the piece about God of War being game of the generation to me. I wrote it, and Sony Santa Monica replied to me, which was huge.
Yeah.
But then Cory Barlog hit me up in DM with like a 3-paragraph thing about what he loved about the piece. And that was so huge to have someone I looked up to that I wrote news articles about during the launch of the game, and it's such a game that's been such a huge part of who I am. Reach out and be like, hey, what you're doing is good, and we really love this. And like when he said that he shared it around the office and was like sending it to people, that it blew my mind, because these are people like you look up to. And to have them go, hey, your work's really good, and we appreciate that you understand what we do, there's no feeling like it. For all the ups and downs you can have as a games writer, like I had a down recently. Like, I wrote that news piece on a Gearbox employee standing up for Randy Pitchford, and it made it to Reddit, and I got dragged in Twitter DMs. I got death threats. I got people calling me an asshole. I've got all this shit from this. I had like 60 pending Twitter DMs because I was defending Randy Pitchford, apparently, even though I just wrote a news story.
Yeah, you definitely weren't. It's not how it came off to me. I mean, it didn't seem like you were really taking a perspective. You were just saying, hey, there's other sides to the story.
Yeah, and I got dragged for that and was vilified on Reddit for it and everything else. And that really sucked. But Jez Corden gave me the best piece of advice that I've ever gotten in terms of writing, is if what you're writing is important, people will hate it. Somebody will hate it. If you're doing good work, people will hate it. There will be a subsection of people that hate what you're doing. Because that means people are paying attention.
Yeah.
And it comes with ups and downs. If I'm going to give Steven any advice at all, is that it can be super rewarding and it can be super draining at the same time. But if you're really passionate about it, just do it. Start a medium. Write about what you love. If you love Borderlands 3, write about Borderlands 3. If you like some obscure 90s game, write about it. There's opinion pieces I pitched to my editor, and they're like, that's not going to get views. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm still writing it because it means something to me. And whether 80 people read it or 8,000 people read it, it's something I care about that I'm putting into words. And that's why I write. And that's why a lot of these guys write, is because this is stuff we care about and love, and it's just sharing that passion with everybody around us, whether it's shit posting about chicken tenders or anything. Like, even like me and Sam bantering back and forth in DMs, like there isn't a day where Sam won't take a little nudge at me, or I won't take a little nudge at him about something, or send like shitty memes or shitty articles we see all over the place to each other. Or I don't ever take a day where I don't poke Jared about Anthem, or Eric won't send me an article and be like, is this right? And I'm like, no, it's not, but it's still published. It's just, it's something we all love. It's something we all talk about. We spent 2+ hours on this podcast talking about video games.
Yeah.
If you have that kind of passion, put it into something. And just enjoy it. Enjoy it for what it is. Don't count numbers. Just be yourself and have fun.
Yeah. One last thing I'll say about it is that I wrote it's not video games, but it went on Game Zone. I wrote an article about the Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire back in January or February, and I talked about how much it meant to me and stuff like that, and why I thought it was so good and why people really like it. And that's a series that hasn't been active since 2007, and there's no reason really why it would get many views, but it's one of my best performing articles in a long time, because people were like, fuck, this guy's making points, this guy is really putting his heart into it too. And there's a lot to show that if you just care and you just, like you said, don't do it for views, because the views will come if you're just being honest with yourself and not just like, what can I capitalize on now? Because I've been doing this, like I said, since I was 14. I'm turning 20 this year. I have never, ever written an article for views, because I guess I don't really have an incentive to. It doesn't go into my pocket, but I still, I have people I have to please above me, but I'm like, I'm just going to do me. And that seemed to have worked for this long. So I'd say just do that.
Yeah. Just be yourself, write what you love. And I'm still waiting for Sam's 30-page article on The Witcher 3 at some point. I know it's coming. I know it's got to happen at some point.
That one is there alongside the piece on God of War and what it meant for masculinity as a whole. Those two are bouncing around in my
I
head.
remember that draft. That article needs to come to life at some point. That was
One of these days. One of these
so
days, I'm
good.
gonna. I'll pull someone's ear off until they let me publish it. One of these days.
Yeah, but yeah, it is what it is. There's tons of ways to get out there, get your voice heard, and yeah, just write what you feel unless you're complaining about cosmetic changes, and don't follow the wave. Just don't follow the wave. That's my only advice.
I fucking hate that shit so much. Microtransactions are bad. It's like, we get it. This has been a conversation for like a decade. You're just saying the same shit. I hate EA. Okay, good, great, cool. What else? Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I cannot stress original thought enough.
Yeah, please.
Recycling Angry Joe and Jim Sterling videos as articles won't get you very far.
Yeah, fuck that.
But we'll do outros because I've taken up enough of everybody's time. So, Sam, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter. It is where you can talk to me best. Just please come talk to me. Please yell at me. Don't yell at the others. Yell at me. Well, yell at Nick and yell at me. That's better. Jared and Eric don't deserve that, and I can't speak for Cade.
He's got a point.
Yeah, but I'm happy to talk to you on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert, Tolbert. You can find what I write on Windows Central, Android Central, and iMore. I know I was botting out earlier, so I'll take this moment now, that since you can hear me, to say I've got a review of XCOM Chimera Squad coming in the next couple of days. So please look forward to that. And then, Gears Tactics is right around the corner. So that's going to be interesting when I can talk about it. And Predator Hunting Grounds. Unfortunately, I've been subjected to that. And despite
we were talking about that while you were gone, I think.
Yeah, despite the fact that playing it, I'm helping my PlayStation editor, review it, and playing a few matches earlier today felt like Satan was licking my brain. It was awful.
Wow.
I think you might have just topped Cade's Shenmue 3 is worse than AIDS.
I was thinking about that the other day. Yeah.
It's bad. It's bad. So, regrettably, unfortunately, despairingly, you will be able to read our review on that very soon.
Yeah. That's...
Yikes.
Goddamn. I don't even know how. I'm okay. Jared, where can people find you, please?
Okay. People can find me on Twitter at RadioX. Find all my writing fun stuff at lordsofgaming.net. I have a little YouTube channel called Neon Garden coming up in hopefully the next few weeks here, so keep your eye out on my timeline on Twitter for that. And then tomorrow I will be guesting on the Iron Lords podcast, which will be April 26th. So if you want to hear me talking about more about games and Xbox Series X speculation, then hop on over there.
Right on. And I'm not legally, contractually obligated or allowed to say anything nasty about Iron Lords right now because I'm in trouble because I slandered Destiny a bunch. And I'm in quarantine now.
Yeah, go back in your timeout corner. Never mind.
Well, I'm sorry. Jared, what was that about Anthem again?
Hey.
It was the what killer? I'm trying to remember what it was supposed to kill.
What you talking about?
Okay. Eric, where
We
can
all
people
had
find
great
you?
ambitions for that game.
Well, when I'm not here, you can find me on Twitter, EC Jackson with an X. And opposite of that, you can find me on Brap Podcast Wednesday nights at 9:00.
Talk to Eric about specs. He loves that sort of thing.
Yes. I implore you, if you are listening.
No, only time you can talk to me about specs is when I actually post about games and games being more important, and then you remind me that specs are more important because without the specs, you can't have the games. And I'm like, all right, we're gonna do the chicken and the egg. I love that kind of stuff.
I was hoping you were going to say the only time you can talk to me about specs is if you're my optometrist. I was hoping you'd go that way.
Yeah, I love the chicken and the egg argument with idiots. It's the best.
Yeah.
Cade, where can people find you?
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at Cade_Onder, CADE_ONDER. And on GameZone.com. We got all kinds of reviews and opinion pieces. I'm writing like 5 opinion pieces right now on various different things. One's on Red Dead Redemption 2 that should be coming this week. Doing another one on Iron Man, like the Marvel movies, Captain America as well. They're 2 separate ones. And then I might do something on Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, just so people realize how much of a shit show that thing is. And I was doing something else, but I completely forgot what it was off the top of my head. But so very busy in Predator Hunting Grounds. So,
Hey, Cade, if you want to play that with me, suffer together.
I
hit
was
me up.
going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you my gamer tag and PSN, and we'll hit that up.
Cool. So yeah, follow me there. Go read our stuff. We got plenty of good stuff. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Yeah, I don't think there's a writer in here that will disagree with I'm working on 5 opinion pieces right now. I'm in that situation myself. I've got like 12 drafts that my editor keeps going, are you gonna finish any of these? I'm like, yeah, I'm working on all of them right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm bound. Oh, the other one's James Bond. I'm doing a piece on Daniel Craig's James Bond. That's what it was. Because No Time to Die got delayed, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna watch these movies, and I'm gonna tell you why fucking Daniel Craig is a kick-ass James Bond. Because some people seem to disagree with that.
And you know what those people are? They're wrong. They are so blatantly wrong. They are the same people that don't like the Spider-Man movies. They're wrong.
They're just wrong.
Factually wrong.
Factually wrong. And that this piece, it's not an opinion piece. It's a fact piece. and I'm very excited to share it because I think I'm onto something, and I really like the things I've already written in it. So it'll be good.
Right on, man. And I'm Nicholas Downing. You can find me on Twitter at Undead3XVI. You can send me all the nice things you want to say to me. And you can send all my hate mail to Sam because he needs more of that. Because he ruins people's Resident Evil 3 reviews.
What happened there?
I'll tell you after.
Yeah, we'll tell you after. It's a long-standing joke on this show now, at this point. You can find all my work at lordsofgaming.net. I've got a financially angled piece on the delay of The Last of Us Part 2. To kind of debate people on some stupid points about a digital-only release that I see people still running with, even though it's been like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I've got a piece on Kingdom Come Deliverance that's been in limbo for 2.5 years that I'm finally going to put out. And I got a little spicy piece on Cyberpunk that I don't think people are going to like, but it'll be interesting. So stay tuned for those. I appreciate everyone that tunes in the show. Appreciate our MP3 listeners. Last episode was our most downloaded MP3 episode, and I really appreciate all you guys that have been listening to us on the MP3 platforms and continue to support us all through. Got some cool announcements coming. I've got a YouTube announcement that'll be coming up on Tuesday that is charity related for the month of May. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. And we will talk more about that in the coming future. So appreciate Cade stopping in. We'll definitely have him back sometime. And we will check you guys next Saturday at 8 p.m.-ish Eastern Time. Later.